lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now we're currently joined by 10th Man. I've not actually said hello to him, so I better raise the mic and see if I can actually get his attention. Hey 10th Man, can you hear me?
Yes, how are you?
Very well. Let's just raise the mic on you a little bit.
Yeah, let me see where my volume is. So I'll get
No, you're all good.
Oh, okay, that's fine then. Yeah, I was just having a piece of toast in my mouth when you said hello.
Trimmed that little bit out with Apollo from yesterday.
Oh, say that again, I'm sorry.
Poor sod.
Repeat that, please, one more time.
Yeah, you are a bit quiet, actually. I've turned you right up and I still can't quite hear you.
Hang on. Okay, I think I'm fine here. How about now?
Yeah, that's just about good enough.
What did you say about it?
I've got that line turned down. There we go. It's because there was, presumably it got loud towards the end of one of the shows. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Much better. Sorry,
I caught part of Apollo, but not the front part.
Apollo, yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. He's a nice person.
John asked me if I'd made that up on the spot, and in the moment I said yes, I had. And then after thinking about it, I made a similar but not the same example quite a few months back, but with an illustration. So I used a breeze block that I took out the corner of a house and made a similar example. Not quite the same, but similar.
Oh, I mean, it was for illustration purposes. It was spot on. I mean, it was perfect. I mean, when the whole panel goes silent and Apollo goes silent, everybody goes silent. I think everybody got it.
Yeah, I even got kudos off Scientism. So Ranty did a Flat Earthathon yesterday.
Oh, okay. How'd that go?
Very well. So he raised nearly £800. And he was at, I think, 250 or something, a bit less, just before we started the Rantyathon. And by the end, it was, like I say, edging its way up to £800. I checked this morning, it's maybe a few pounds under £800 of a £1,400 target. So he's doing very well. He's well over halfway. I'd be pleased if that was my GoFundMe campaign.
Yeah, that's great.
When this gets published on the second channel, I'll spam the link with his GoFundMe. Hopefully he'll get a few more donations in the aftermath. But yeah, it went really, really well.
What time did you end it?
I can't remember what time, because we ended up chatting for a good hour at least afterwards, and then at one point I was just like, I've got to go to bed. I think it was about midnight midnight our time, something like that, pretty late. But the actual hangout lasted about... Say again?
I said that's what I was figuring, because if you did it after the live show yesterday, you must have gone late.
Oh, it was long after the live show. It was about 6 hours after the live show ended. Wow. And he did about 3.5 hours of actual show. So yeah, it was a long day yesterday. I'm really tired today, I won't lie. But you know, it just it mentally takes it out of you. So the whole time the show is running for 3.5 hours solid, shouting out the people who've contributed and giving a running total in the chat feed, and then every 20 to 30 minutes I'm shouting them out verbally and explaining what the show's actually about, so people just don't just come along and go, oh, great show, they're talking about flat earth a lot, great. You know, it's like, no, this is a Rantyathon. So I had to keep highlighting it like every 20 or 30 minutes to the live audience. And there's a good 100+ people watching, so you know, good participation. About 12 or 13 people shared the GoFundMe link, which is important. Not as many as I'd hoped shared it, but more people than I expected donated. So it's swings and roundabouts, and the donations are the thing you really want. So I didn't expect it to get halfway, if I'm honest, and it did. So I was pleased with the outcome for Anti, and people kept smashing his super chat as well. So I think he got about, in the end, about $100 maybe there or thereabouts just in super chats. So if nothing else, when the end of the month, next month rolls around, if he's still not there, he can at least take some of the
sure
money out of YouTube and stick it into his GoFundMe.
Well, I mean, that's just between you and me. What you did, I've never seen done, where a host like yourself goes and helps a panel member. I mean, that's really good that you did that for him.
It's actually the second time I've done it. It's just last time I didn't do it on air. So the last Ranty-a-thon, which was for his P1000, but that was again my idea and my suggestion and my organisation. But I made it clear to Ranty that it was very important he did it on his channel. So in other words, if, like, exactly what happened, if people hit the super chat, as much as I want the money, I'm poor. You know, I'd love it was on my channel for that reason, but it would be a bit unreasonable if people are, you know, that there are certain members of the audience that just can't be asked, that just go, oh, there you go, because it's 10 seconds on an iPad to give someone a super chat. So it's easier. So, you know, I was pretty insistent that Ranty did it on his own channel, but last time I was like, look, I'll be in the chat and I'll keep a running total, which I did this time as well as being on the show. Which I'd have preferred not to, if I'm honest, because it's just mentally exhausting. But there we go.
No, that's good. That's great that he's more than halfway there. I think he'll reach his goal. That was let me segue to the scientific. God, it was so crazy with Brenda yesterday. The scientific model. And she was equating it, but not with cause and effect, but with observations. But when you brought up cause and effect as the real basis for science, her whole argument fell apart, and it showed that it was pseudoscience, which she was standing upon.
Yeah, I didn't take much glory in the victory in that regard, because, yeah, that's a fairly easy win, I would have said, but I was more pleased with the fact that she exposed herself for the fraud that she is. So she goes around claiming victim status, when in reality she's misquoting, making up stuff on the spot, destroying people's work. You know, she is very much the aggressor, and yet claims victim status, which is so often the case when it comes to these sorts of people. You know, they're the first to claim victim when they're actually the aggressor.
Well, she did that from the beginning. And I remember when I first ran into her, I said, why do you keep coming back if you're being, in your words, being abused here? If you can't put up a good argument and you don't like the show or the host, why do you keep coming back? And it just smells of someone who just wants the abuse. It's crazy.
I don't think that's the case. I think she claims abuse because the way she behaves is to entice it. So, you know, you'll make a good point and she'll completely ignore it, or even though it's part of her narrative, she'll disagree with it, just to wind you up, to get you more and more irritated. So at the end, she can claim victim status and claim the victory based on it. It's pathetic, but nonetheless, there's the impression always going to be left in some people's minds that she is actually being abused, when in reality she's being passive aggressive in her way or style of disagreeing, or giving a hand wave dismissal to a very good point, or repeating the same point like you haven't heard it in between your explanations. You know, in other words, she does all the obfuscation tactics that she'll accuse people of doing to her. So that's why I mirrored her yesterday in terms of the way she was behaving. I just did the same as she did, and it seems more absurd when I do it. And I'm like, why are you bullying me? You know, it just seems it's absurd.
Yeah, I think that was that was a good tactic for you to go to at that point, because it got out of hand. What I meant was, yeah, she plays many parts, but she wants to collide with you. She wants to have that mano a mano. I want to debate you on a different forum and this and that. When really there's not even. It's like Muhammad Ali against some little kid. That she doesn't have the facts. She doesn't have the debates. I mean, it just wouldn't even make sense. If she can't even win one argument here, how is she going to do multiple arguments somewhere else?
Well, in her mind, he was really telling as well, because she interrupted me And then after interrupting me, she said, "This is why I want to debate you somewhere else." And it's like, oh, right. So because I haven't allowed you to interrupt me, that's why you want to debate me somewhere else, because you'll get to interrupt and it'll be tolerated with your non-point or your repetition of the point or claim that you've made already 5 times. And that'll be allowed while an explanation is attempting to be given. You know, it'll be deemed okay to completely rumpus any point that counters any argument, because there are no neutral platforms. You know, we're in the minority here.
Well, yeah, I was just trying to think about that now that you brought it up. You mentioned some site that's a debating site, but what are their rules? I mean, how do they govern themselves? Do they put up with nonsense? Do they shut down nonsense immediately, or do they allow that to go for 4 hours?
Yeah, exactly. While their nonsense is being shut down and they're trying to repeat their nonsense, like, oh, you're not letting my nonsense out, even though it's, you know, when I listen back to some of these discussions that end up in me being accused of this and that and the other, I listen to them, I think, well, initially, I hear every point, and at the point that it's being repeated for about the 4th time, I'm talking over them with a cogent response that's been ignored or hasn't been allowed to reach the audience, you know. So at that point, obviously, that's frustrating, but that is their tactic. They don't have winning arguments; they have tactics.
Yeah, well, you could tell when she was trying to put out the scientific model, and then says, "Well, it's got to be in reality. It's got to be through cause and effect. We don't want a model." I mean, right there, you shouldn't be able to, on another channel, let's say, change the subject and go to another topic because you just dropped the ball on that one. You need to be held accountable to that one thing that you just try to push on the audience without any proof.
Yeah, they just whistle past it. When you destroy their point, they whistle past it, change the subject to sort of demean the gravity of what you've actually done. So it doesn't have quite so much weight if there's no reaction to it. It's just move on to a different point. In many instances, some of the audience won't even catch that the point has been debunked in the last statement, especially if it's cut off by someone talking over it.
Yeah, they just roll from one to another and it gets mixed up in it. But there isn't a clear-cut ending to that particular debate.
Right. But if they can get the entire panel to be in consensus in a point that's against a flat earther, they will absolutely claim they've won.
Yeah, yeah. That was the Apollo point. That was so funny because John is like a quantum computer chip in his brain, and the rest of us are analog or digital or something. And he's so far ahead of where I was. I mean, I was trying to take Apollo somewhere, and he says, "Come on, 10th man, stay on one point." I started laughing because John's so smart, I can't keep up with him, you know. But he's so far, he's bored with some of my debate styles, I think.
Yeah, it was a bit. It came across yesterday. I listened back, and it sounded like he was being really personal to you. And knowing John reasonably well, yeah, it was directed to you, so you can't really not take it that way. But you just don't. You wouldn't appreciate that behind the scenes, John's been very what's the word? Keen to get these points sort of dialed in, more concise, snappier, and you know, with that in mind, that's how things like the conversation about the brick and its angular size and putting another load of bricks on top of it after it's disappeared due to angular size. That's a fairly concise summary of that conversation. Well, I can do that because in my mind, I've gone, right, I need to get these more concise. They need to be less wordy. And yesterday, Anthony was on the Ranty-a-thon, and he's made his claim. Then he gives his evidence to back his claim. Then he makes his conclusion. Then he gives his evidence for the claim again. Then he makes the claim again. Then he makes the conclusion of the claim again. Then he makes the evidence clear. Then he makes what their point on the other side is and how it doesn't work. Then he makes his evidence clear again. Then he makes his point again. And by about the 7th time, I was just laughing, and I took myself off mute, and I'm like, I've got to interrupt this, because otherwise there'll literally never be... It's not concise. There's no consistency to it. You know, it's a great point, but being lost in word salad. It's like, if you can get it into 3 sentences, you know, enough for them to not interrupt.
Yeah, no, I agree. I personally don't take what John did yesterday in an offensive way, because I've already heard John speak and realize how much time and effort he puts into preparing to bring out his points. And again, he's the field of work that he's really comfortable in is very nebulous to me, even at this point, even though I'm making an attempt to understand it. But it's like common to him. And so, you know, you just kind of find your spot in the panel, I guess, to where if I respect someone, I don't have a problem with them trying to say something. I may not get it at the moment, but I might later.
Yeah, plus he's very blunt, so I like that a lot. It's one of my favourite things about John is the fact that he's very direct, very blunt, to the point, and I like that. I try and emulate it. In fact, you know, being concise is a good attribute, especially when you're in a fast-paced debate. You know, you've got to keep your points concise. And with John, he's got it. Again, when we were developing the housekeeping questions, what I kind of had in mind was some of the way that John will drop in a question that most, if not all, people involved at the moment don't appreciate the point of the question or how important the question is. For example, I'll give you two. What is gravity? Seems fairly benign, right? The importance of that question slips most people right on by. And I love that. I love the subtlety of it. Not giving the answer, not explaining the importance or the significance of the question until later down the line. And he did it yesterday with him asking Apollo, do you know the difference between celestial and terrestrial? Which one was it? What was he talking? Spectroscopy?
Refraction.
No, spectroscopy. So he's saying, do you know the difference between celestial spectroscopy and terrestrial spectroscopy? And there's a long pause. And then he's like, well, we will continue this conversation once you've gone and had a look into it. As opposed to, this is what it means, this is how it wins my argument. He didn't do any of that. Just leaves it out there. The other example would be, what is evolution? You know, again, you probably appreciate just how important that question is. Most people in the debate probably don't. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely. No, it's the variety of panel members you have, and what attracted me to your show was the topics, the approach to the topics. It wasn't your normal, everyday, humdrum, flat earth regurgitation. There was actually plowing new ground here on the Oakley show. That's what I like about your show, is it's just plowing new ground. Even from the time I've come, we've plowed new ground. So you're just not stuck in the same old arguments for things, which is very refreshing.
Well, absolutely, I'm very proud of that. I mean, one of the things that drove me to do the debate in the first instance was a lack of knowledge on some of the arguments. So I thought, well, in the past, what I got, shout out to Slice Sparkane, no one here to retract it. So when I was first making videos, one of my first subscribers was Slice Sparkane. And what he'd do is he'd attempt to debunk my claims, and he'd give me the links to the videos that he claimed debunked my claim. And in essence, it was the very focused research I needed to debunk the claim even better, you know, based on their own evidence. And it saved a huge amount of time. So I could, you know, based on logic and reason, I could say satellites don't exist. Now, I'd obviously adapt that quite significantly today if I was to make that. I wouldn't make that assertion in that phraseology today, but that's the title I put on one of my first videos. Along comes Slice Sparkane and gives me links to what he claims are satellites, and I had a little look. It saved me an absolute load of time. It was absolutely brilliant. And he did it over and over again, gave me all the little research lines that I needed with these links. And I remember one of the first interviews I did with this guy called Fake Spaceman in Space, Jamie Heth, and he was telling me that when he first did a Flat Earth video, he got the same thing. The trolls come along and they put these links, and he was saying, when I first saw the link with the claim that I'd been debunked, I was really scared. Oh no, I don't want to click on this link. And then you click on it with a little bit of nerves, and that's what I'm driving at in this point. The little bit of nerves, the little bit of fear at first when I started the show was because I didn't know how to debunk the arguments. Well, that's probably true of most people, although I'm, you know, a bit introverted in this example. I'm just saying, for me, I didn't know how to undo some of the arguments. The best one, or one of the later ones to get debunked, was like, why do we have rotation of the celestial bodies in the northern and southern hemisphere. I could never wrap my head around it. I just couldn't undo it. I'm like, I've been there, I've seen them. I know they do that in the south. I know they do this in the north. If I've seen it with my own eyes, how can I possibly undo that argument? And it was only when you appreciate that it's forming a begging the question fallacy around and affirming the consequent fallacy that you appreciate how they've done it. Stars are always above you. You travel across a plane, you don't observe any curvature, there's no hint or suggestion that you're on a ball, and when you get to a different location, where do you look? Up. So you've looked up in both instances. This idea that one of them is antipode to the other is just an idea. It's a concept you're told about, but you never experience it in any way, shape or form, so you just have to assume that you've travelled over a curve to the other side of a ball, and then observe the stars. So at that point, I got there through the debate, through people asserting it and going, oh, what do I say here? You know, and eventually you get to the point where you research it and find out what the actual answers are. Where does the logical fallacy lie? Where is this argument not kosher? And then when you figure it out, you can then verbalise it to others, and presumably others like that, like yourself, have gone, oh, I like that, rather than just saying our map model, etc., does this, their map model, etc., does that. You go, oh, what do you mean models are pseudoscience? What do you mean you don't need a model? Haven't we got to compare them? Isn't it no model, no flat earth, according to Tiger Dan? You know, and then you come along the next day, and what do you mean they haven't got a model?
Yeah.
I remember that little chestnut coming up for the first time. You're like, what do you mean they haven't got a model? The globe doesn't have a model. Yeah, ask them for it. Okay, well, let's see how that goes. Well, you know the answer, right? Only happened yesterday for about the 5th time. Yeah, let's see it then. Let's see the heliocentric model. Look, what you got? What? Nothing. Bit of word salad and some maths. Oh, that's nice. Great model.
Yeah, you don't have to dig too many layers of, how can I put it? I guess with the skin being 7 layers of skin, you don't have to go too many layers of the covering of this falsehood before it uncovers itself.
Yeah, I remember a great analogy by Mark Knight, Wakey Wakey, and he was, when I interviewed him, he described it as follows. So he said that the lie is like a papier-mâché ball, and at a distance it looks quite solid. It looks, you know, it's rigid, it's got all the surfaces covered and everything looks intact, and, you know, it's a good shape and brilliant. But you go up to it and you poke it and you realise that it's only paper thin. You can put your finger right through it and then you put another hole and you can see right the way through it.
It's so true, but given the fact that the normal everyday people who are not on purpose investigating the claims of the pseudoscientists versus the actual cause and effect reporting of real science, they watch people on TV, Lawrence Krauss or someone like him, or someone's pushing evolution or someone's pushing this or that, and they see them in their academia, you know, all this stuff, and so they feel intimidated. They won't say it. They'll just jump on that party. Well, this guy represents, and he could beat you even if I can't beat you. And they're not thinking anymore. Your show is asking people to think.
I hope so.
No, it is. You're asking people to think, because when you debate, even Apollo, with the little example with the brick, I mean, we all know things get smaller as they go further into the distance. So no matter where you are on the spectrum, everyone knows that's true, no matter which side you're on. All right, so you use that. And then everyone says, well, I agree with Nathan when he says the brick eventually disappears to my eyesight, because whether it's a mile or somewhere between a mile and me, I can't see it anymore. Well, why wouldn't other things behave that way? You're making people think.
Yeah, well, those are the things that give me quite a lot of joy. Why would the assertion that you could see New York from England ever be a claim? And it's laughable now we understand it and know the answer to that question. The answer is because their mathematics removes perspective. So when you juxtapose the mathematics of the curve calculator with what they believe a flat Earth should do, they look at the maths and just remove the curve. And what are you left with? Seeing forever. Well, no. Angular size limitations, perspective, that still takes effect. But it highlights the fact that when you just put the curve back in, well, all you're doing to make the stuff disappear that you said would be visible on a flat plane, it isn't, it's too small. It's only being blocked by Earth curve. So there's only one assertion. There's only one cause of this stuff being blocked from the bottom up. Earth curve, that's the only thing you can ever claim. So that's a bit of a problem when you've got multiple reasons that things can disappear from bottom up.
Yeah, well, you remember that one video that Bill Nye put out saying, well, if the Earth was flat, why can't I don't know if it was Florida or New York, he was starting point. He said, why can't I see Spain?
Perspective. Well, perspective, Bill.
Yeah, exactly. And so the point is, you listen to that knucklehead say that, and then because your show is educating people on perspective and angular size, now people are able to spot a fraud, because basically what he's saying is the only reason we can't see Spain from New York or wherever the starting point was is because of the curve. Exactly. That's what he's really saying.
Exactly. Their only claim, the only thing that's causing stuff to disappear from bottom up and eventually disappear altogether is Earth curve. That's the only thing the calculator claims.
So why don't we take him to the state of Kansas, which is 400 plus miles, legitimately flat as a pancake, as the one video shared. Have him stand at the one end of Texas and test his hypothesis, which is he could see through to the end of the state of Kansas. He would fall apart.
Yeah. Hey, Travis. Just about to start live. About 30 seconds. Here you go. This quick sound check.
Check.
Hey, Nathan. I'll probably just hang out for an hour today. I got a lot of work, but it's been a joy talking.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. Most importantly, if you'd like to join this discussion right here, right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching. Then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by 10th Man and Travis, otherwise known as Plain Truth. How you doing?
Hello, what ho?
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Any signs of Earth curvature?
No, haven't seen it yet.
Travis, our man on the scene, looking for Earth curve.
Curvature is perspective.
Just perspective, yeah. Quite right. Any evidence of axial rotation?
Nope.
If there was some, should we be able to feel it, Nathan?
We should be able to feel some if there was some, I would say.
Yeah, well then, no, I don't feel it. So my senses are saying there isn't any.
Actually, Adam Meakin once ran the mathematics for that, and he came to the same conclusion, which is to say that, yeah, you would feel it. It wouldn't be much, but you would feel it.
I heard of description of someone standing somewhere up north and then, you know, getting used to that so-called rotation up there being much less because it's north, and then getting on a plane flying to the equator to some country and then getting off and saying that because he was calibrated up there, and when the minute he steps on the ground in the equator, he should feel the difference. I thought that was pretty interesting, but they don't.
Yeah, we don't. There's no sensation. We don't feel a thing. There is no separate reference frame to cause a Coriolis effect. We're not spinning. Hey, Arwin.
Hello.
Hello.
We know when we get in a powered escalator and it's moving at a certain pace, you feel that because you're not walking; it's something's moving you. And then you get on the escalator that's flat, like at the airport where it's running flat. You feel that, but we can't feel the Earth moving. I mean, give me a break. Our senses would tell us.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
No, there's no confirmed measured distance to the sun.
No. How would you even do it?
You could just assume
Take
Venus
a very,
is the sun.
very long tape measure, tie it to the Earth, and then fly all the way up to...
I'm not sure even that would be possible. Again, that's your physical assumption bias kicking in, isn't it, Arwin?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Hey, Arwin, let's start a tape measure production company. We'll make a mint.
Sorry, say again?
We can start a tape measure production company because people would keep buying it from us to go measure it.
Oh, God. Well, let's just start with one. That'll probably take a very long time.
Hello, Chris, Matt, how you doing?
Not bad. How are you doing?
Very well indeed. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Shout out to Leonardo Gonzalez for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed.
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity.
There's no evidence of it, but they keep telling us about it.
What about evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Now I'll go for a chocolate core.
But you still have to get to the core, and we've only gone 8 miles, so how do you get there?
I just have to chew our way through.
There you go.
Chew our way through, like moles.
We'll put you in that hole, Arwin, and you can start it.
What about the presupposition?
Just keep on biting, guys. We'll get to the chocolate eventually.
Oh, that's Jessica's input. Oh, that's going to stick, isn't it? Let's move on. Any evidence of the presupposition itself? Values. Hello, Physics Warrior.
Hey, Nathan. Panel.
R.
No.
Shout out to Sean's dad.
Who's getting a shout out?
Oh no, it's just an inside joke with Physics Warrior.
Fair enough.
Thanks, Babs.
Last but go on. Hey,
No,
Chris.
it seems like a lot of their stuff is a presupposition.
Yeah, it's all a presupposition. Hey, Paul. Hey, Chris.
Hey.
Here's
Morning.
Paul.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Last but by no means least, any evidence that a gas pressure can exist without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon, for all the fundies who believe in the vacuum of the sky, otherwise known as outer space.
Proof, of course.
But what about gas in a bucket?
Or gas in a pipe. Gas in a pipe.
I heard a new one yesterday about this
Hey, Brenda.
from Dr. Bob.
Are you talking about what Bob, the science guy, was talking about yesterday?
Yeah.
Do you need a lid on a container?
Depends on the density.
If it's
of the
containing gas, yeah, it needs a lid on it.
So it's not a container if it doesn't have a lid?
No, it depends on what it's containing.
So it's not a container. If you don't have a lid, it's not a container. It won't contain the gas. The gas will escape, right?
No, wrong.
This
It
is
depends on the
gas
density of the gas.
Gas won't escape?
It depends on the
Yeah, the
density
gas
of
will
the
escape.
gas, Brenda.
Yeah, the gas
So it won't escape. So it will disobey.
Hold on, you're
the
making a
second law of
declaration.
thermodynamics?
Hold
It
on.
depends on the relative density
Hold
of the
on,
gas
please.
compared
Hold
to its
on.
surroundings.
Everybody's
including buckets
just
and the air
accepting her
above.
declaration. Yeah, entropy still takes effect. If that was one or how many words was that before Brenda interrupted me? That's strike one.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you're talking now, aren't you? So, if you've got a hole in a tyre, eventually the air will leak out. Now that's not to say that for a short period of time you can retain some of the air, but if it's got a hole, entropy will eventually take effect. It's just a matter of time. Now, if you've got a very long, thin container and a very heavy gas at the bottom of it, yeah, temporarily you can slow down the effects of entropy, but entropy will absolutely still be in effect. It's a law of nature.
So like 3 hours, would that be a good enough time?
What, for the sulfur hexafluoride to dissipate into the air? That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
I've never
would that
seen
be
it.
enough time? 3 hours?
For the sulfur hexafluoride in a tank, yeah, I would maybe say that it would definitely be dissipated at least to some degree into the air by probably half an hour with the sulfur hexafluoride. The reason I would assert that is because when they pump it in from one container to another, they seem to have to put a lid on the top of it to stop it from going everywhere. Now, it might settle for a short period of time, but eventually the movement of the air around it, the less dense gas that's above, will eventually interact with it, and it will just fill the container available to it by way of entropy.
So definitely by 3 hours, the sulfur hexafluoride would be dissipated in any container without a lid, right?
It's a law of nature. It's called entropy.
I'm just asking.
Hey,
what
Nathan, can I say something real quick?
That's true, right? So your statement, I just want to be clear, is that definitely long before 3 hours is over, sulfur hexafluoride in a container without a lid, without a top, without a ceiling, it would, according to the second law, would dissipate. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say so. Entropy's not going to stop occurring.
So
Can I say something real quick?
why is that not true? We observe that doesn't happen.
Excellent. I've been waiting for this for a while. Show me this example of somebody pumping in sulfur hexafluoride into a fish tank with no lid, coming back 3 hours later and floating a tinfoil boat on it. Show me that then.
Yeah, Blue Marble science guy, that science guy, he with the pipe with the sodium hexafluoride in it.
Excuse me.
He left it.
Excuse me.
He left it for
Excuse
3
me.
hours.
Excuse
he left
me.
it for 3 hours.
Excuse me. You seem to have substituted sulfur hexafluoride for butane and a fish tank for a pipe. What's going on?
Yeah, does that?
Sorry,
does that have,
excuse
does that have
me.
A lid?
Did I just
does that
agree?
Have a lid?
Shut up. Did I just agree that after 3 hours, a fish tank, so let's say that twice so she doesn't repeat it and ignore it again, a fish tank with no lid filled with sulfur hexafluoride would dissipate in 3 hours. That's what I agreed to. Anybody on the panel in disagreement with what I just agreed with Brenda?
Does the second law only apply?
Sorry, that's not me asking you, Brenda. That's strike two. Strike two. I asked the panel. Brenda answered. Shut the fuck up.
I'm on the panel.
Shut up.
I'm on the panel.
I'm asking other people. You're not the centre of focus when I ask other panel members if I repeated correctly and agreed to... I say it a third time because she's obfuscated it so we don't lose track. I agreed that sulfur hexafluoride, that would be the specific gas we're talking about, in a specific container, that would be a fish tank, would dissipate after 3 hours. I've asked you to show me that, and now you're telling me about butane in a very long pipe. So, I'm asking the panel, that means not you, Brenda, not you. If I have in any... Is that strike three? Is it because your your point is being absolutely...
I'm on the panel.
Yeah, you're being shit. Your point's being shit on, and I'm asking... Bye, Brenda. You can't shut up. Now you'll start claiming victim.
Goodbye, Brenda.
You're going to shut up.
Does it only apply?
You're going to shut up?
You can't handle it.
Sorry, so what she's done is called a false equivalence fallacy.
Yep.
She's agreed to one thing and then said, I've got an example of what we've agreed to, and then come up with something completely different. So this is a logical fallacy, and Brenda's guilty of it. Excuse me. Let me ask you a couple
Yes, it is, Brenda.
Guys,
Yes,
let me just ask her a couple of
Because
questions.
the second law applies to any gas.
Brenda, let me ask you a couple of questions. See if I get straight answers. We'll see. Is butane sulfur hexafluoride?
No, it's not.
So it's definitely not the same gas that I agreed to then. Is a long, thin tube a fish tank?
No, it's not.
So you're not going to be able to, with a long tube and butane, show me an example of sulfur hexafluoride not
can I ask
being...
you a question?
That's her last chance. You
Can I ask you a
stupid,
question?
fundy bitch.
I want to
Get
ask you a
out!
question.
That's what she does. When I obliterate her false, absolute bullshit, not kosher example that's a total false equivalency, she talks all over me. She won't let the point be made clear that butane and sulfur hexafluoride are very different things, and that a tube is not the same as a tank. But because she's got the equivalent of a tyre with a slow puncture, she thinks she can assert that entropy won't take place. I'm afraid not, Brenda. You've got a vast surface area with a much more dense gas at the bottom. Doesn't mean entropy won't take effect. It'll just take a little bit longer. Yeah? That's all you've done is delayed the effects, slowed them down. Entropy still takes effect. It's a natural law!
Bait and switch.
Bye-bye, Brenda.
One other observation, that's what I was trying to get in, if we can say it, that technically both the fish tank and the tube are still in a pressurized system, technically. So we've been asking for a vacuum. So technically a pressurized system kind of does fall outside that category.
Well, no, I don't want a vacuum. What the requirements are very clear. Gas pressure without a container. So the way you measure the force of a container is its pressure per square inch. The amount of force the gas puts onto the walls of the container. So a pipe, it's definitely got walls and the gas can definitely press upon them. Now the gradient, this is just a dressed up gradient argument. Yeah, just a straw man. It doesn't actually address the point. Because yeah, you can have a gas pressure gradient. But if you've got a significantly lower pressure system and no barrier, the gas will fill the space. Entropy will take effect. Now they delay the effects with a massive long pipe and a small hole at the top and a much more dense gas than we actually have and claim victory. Well, no. Why have you come back, Brenda?
Yeah.
You're not going to rumpus me in my own show. You know, piss off. No, don't talk over me when I take your point apart. You've claimed that you've got an example of sulfur hexafluoride not being in a gas chamber or fish tank 3 hours later. And then when you claim to actually show it, you're talking about something completely different. Butane in a long pipe. No. Don't do that to us, Brenda, you cheap piece of shit. Yeah? Just stick to what you're good at, deleting people's hard work. Yeah? Like the scumbag piece of shit that you are. Hey Jess, how you doing? Hello?
Hello.
Hello. Brenda's garbage. Complete garbage. Human garbage. That's what Brenda is.
I agree.
Nathan, I heard a new one yesterday I want to share and get your all take on it. So I just jumped on Jose's briefly yesterday during my lunch period, and Dr. Bob was on talking to a couple of guys. I really didn't know who they were, but his argument was, so he made the claim that gas pressure on around Earth without gravity is possible. And he said it's possible simply due to the way that entropy works in terms of increasing and decreasing entropy due to temperature. So he says at the surface where it's hot, the entropy will increase, which causes the gases to rise, as we all are aware. And then as it increases in elevation, it gets colder. And so then the entropy, which decreases density, and then the entropy naturally decreases. And so then it falls. So he was basically saying it's sort of like a cycle where it starts high at the bottom, it rises, and then at some point, whether that's a mile or 50 miles, I don't know, the air temperature decreases the density of the air molecules, and then causes them to fall back down.
Yeah, that would work quite happily in a container. Unfortunately, with no barrier to press upon and a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, the gases want to go one direction into the lower pressure system. That's what entropy says would happen. The gas would want to go into the lower pressure system and reach equilibrium. So if the sky is a vacuum 10 to the minus 17 torr, then where we are now will eventually reach equilibrium, and we on the ground would be at 10 to the minus 17 torr, because it will reach equilibrium. That's what it's trying to do. That is what entropy is. It's trying to reach equilibrium. So if he's saying, oh no, it cycles, oh really? What's it pressing on at the top? Because according to them, it's not got anything to press upon, but in fact, that pressure's got a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum to disperse into. No. Without the container, there can be no pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I mean, my argument has always been, I think whether it's pressure or pressure gradient, you have to have a container. So when they say, well, how do you have a pressure gradient? You know, with the container, that's the wrong question. We know that's possible. Even George Natchik admits that. The question is, how do you have a pressure gradient without a container? That's not possible.
I thought the point that Bob was arguing yesterday was that the pressure is being caused by the density of the atmosphere pushing against the surface of the Earth. Isn't that what he was saying?
Yeah, the bottom. They love to focus on the bottom. Yeah, that's lovely. What's it pressing on at the top? What's that you say? A 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum? Oh, it wouldn't press on that. It would disperse into it. And we would be right here, right now, at 10 to the minus 17 torr also.
Exactly.
And then his example, I asked him, I said, okay, do you have any real world practical experiments or tests done to prove that? And he said, yeah, hold on. He went and got a video of some billowing clouds, basically a weather system where the cloud at the bottom would rise, and then within a matter of, I don't know, hard to tell in clouds, 20, 30, 40, 50 feet, the top would sort of tumble back down on itself. And he said that's the evidence.
That's called circular reasoning. That's circular reasoning. I believe the sky is a vacuum, and it's a vacuum because we have cycles. Therefore, the sky is a vacuum. Well, look, there you go. There's the cycles. Well, no. You're trying to prove that the sky is a vacuum by pointing outside. It's like the dickheads that go, I can prove it, go outside. It's like, no, going outside would demonstrate that we have gas pressure. Well, without the container, there can be no gas pressure or gas pressure gradient. Without the container, there is no pressure. You need the container. It's the necessary antecedent. If you were to say, oh no, it can press on the bottom only, then no worries. Get yourself a plate, turn it upside down, and then show me a gas pressure gradient sat on top of the plate. No problem, right? Now, obviously, we're on terra firma. There's the equivalent of a plate all around us. So you don't really need the plate, just do it on the ground. Show me gas pressure on the ground without any containment. Now, you don't have to do it next to 10 to the minus 17 torr. If you like, you can do it next to the atmospheric pressure. Just show me a massively increased pressure versus atmospheric pressure existing on top of a plate without anything else around it. That's good enough. That's the equivalent. I mean, obviously, they're doing it on top of a marble. But plate, that's close enough. If you want one surface, I'll give you one surface, no worries. If it's the equivalent to Earth. Have a plate upside down, and then show me gas pressure on top of that plate without any containment.
It's not possible. I have a question about the gradient, now that we're talking about that. Okay, so stuff in the atmosphere arranges itself according to density and equilibrium. So I'm just wondering, the higher up we get, the atmosphere tends to thin out. Is the atmosphere higher up in altitude made up of the same elements that our atmosphere is lower down in altitude, if that makes sense?
I don't know the answer. I've not been there. However, we do. It's not in equilibrium. So you've said that, which seems like a reasonable thing to assert. It's not actually correct though. We do have cycles. So the guy who's claiming cycles as his proof, well, yeah, we do have cycles, but that's an affirming the consequent like all of them. Sky is a vacuum if we have cycles. Cycles, therefore, sky is a vacuum. No, just because we have cycles doesn't mean you don't have the necessary antecedent of a container to have gas pressure in the first instance. Like I say, show me on top of a plate. So the actual fact of the matter, even though it's been used in an affirming the consequent, is still true. We do have cycles. Hydrogen, nitrogen, hydrological.
We do have cycles, but with altitude, the atmosphere does appear to thin out. Am I wrong by saying that?
Sure. Yeah. The only problem comes when they say at the top the gas pressure isn't pressing on anything. It's next to a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. Well, all that will happen is it'll all reach equilibrium. It'll all want to go into the lower pressure system. You know, high pressure to low pressure, hot to cold.
Right. And we haven't confirmed that the gases in the upper atmosphere are made up of the same elements as they are in the lower atmosphere. We haven't confirmed that yet.
I haven't checked. I'm sure I could look up what they say it is. I don't know.
Yeah, because I was going to ask if it's the same concentration, which it's obviously not. Why isn't it following that same density gradient, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it's a reasonable enough question. I'd love to know what the sky is also. That's essentially what we're talking about.
Wait, what's the question? Can you rephrase the question? Why is there a density gradient? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I was just wondering, why is there a density gradient, hypothetically, if the higher atmosphere is made up of the same elements as the lower atmosphere? Wouldn't it all even out? Like, why would it be a gradient unless we're dealing with different gases?
I have an answer to that. That's because it's not fully at equilibrium. There is constant motion. There's constant heat exchange, which, despite the gradient still being there, kind of mixes everything around.
Oh, I think I've recognised your question now. I think I know what you're asking, what you're looking for as an answer. So, hey Ruhif, how you doing? Hear us?
Yes, I can. Good evening.
So,
yeah, go ahead, Nathan. I'm curious what your answer is.
Well, the gases are being produced at ground level. You know, you haven't got anything that's producing gases at the midpoint or at the top. Therefore, pressure gradient. Concentration is going to be at the highest at the bottom where they're made, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, makes sense. And a lot of it has to do, keep in mind, with the temperature. So again, as you, and this is true. I mean, this is just Dr. Bob's basically trying to flip the answer to his side. But at the surface, where, as Nathan said, all the gas is produced. So first of all, that's a big reason, right? All the gas, like not a 95%, like literally 100% of all gas is produced at the surface. Okay, or not. Let's just say 99.9%, because you have airplanes and things flying. You can say, well, that's the 0.1%. Fine, 99.9% of gas is produced at the surface. The surface is hotter generally throughout, right? You could say, okay, well, Antarctica, Arctic, fine, it's colder, but in general, the surface is hotter than the upper atmosphere. So as that hot gas rises, and to try and find its equilibrium, the heat is increasing its entropy. So the entropy is telling the gas, oh, you better go somewhere, right? You better do something with your energy. So it goes, Ruhif, you're causing a bunch of noise. So then it goes up, and as it goes up, well, guess what? It does get colder. And as those same gas particles are going up, it hits the decreased temperature, the density decreases, and the entropy does decrease. So in essence, you have a naturally occurring gas pressure gradient because of, and I'm not saying only because of, but in a large part because of the temperature gradient.
And does the pressure increase the higher up you get, or does it decrease?
No, it decreases.
Okay. Because Bob was trying to say that the pressure is being caused by the weight of the atmosphere, like the density is what's causing the pressure. So it's higher up, closer to Earth, because the density of the atmosphere is higher. And like when you increase your altitude, it decreases because there's less atmosphere that's pushing against you. But yeah, I do understand that that may still require a container for that to happen.
The gases are being produced at ground level. That's why you have the highest concentration of gases at ground level.
Right.
Well, Bob's train of thinking requires you to assume that there is a force disequilibrium present at all time, something that you can scientifically prove. But yeah, it's an aberration, so it will mathematically work out.
You need so what they're trying to argue is, and Bob was arguing yesterday, is you don't need a container for pressure. That's completely false, especially for gas and liquid. Now, solid, you could argue if you need a container or not, but gas, you absolutely need a container for there to be pressure. So they'll argue, well, gravity is the cause of the pressure, and it's causing the weight of the molecules to be pulled down and sort of, you know, create a layer. Well, no, there's no evidence of that. In fact, all tests, observation, and experimentation show you need a container for gas pressure. You even need a container for water pressure. The oceans are contained. All bodies of water are contained. So just because it's not the same, you know, substance, it still needs to be contained. And I would even argue that solids, well, perhaps by their very nature are contained, but, you know, they have to be somewhere that, like, if you had a brick sit in midair, I mean, is there pressure on from the brick? I don't know. I don't think so. It has to be contained. It's got to be on the surface where it's thus been contained. So just because the particles and the way that they interact and the bonds are different doesn't mean that you don't need a container. Gas, absolutely, 100%. Anybody can see you need a container. Water, you still need a container. If you want to weigh water, you got to put it in something. You got to put it in a bucket or a jar or a glass. And then solid, I guess maybe that's the only one you could argue doesn't technically need a container because it itself is rigid and is its own container.
Did you say
using using the scientific method and the pressure being the effect? How would you prove that the cause is a container? You can't vary the container of Earth.
No,
that's not true.
No.
A container, you can expand. You can make a hole in it and enlarge the total contained space. That's not true.
Hold on. I don't know anybody else isn't claiming there's a dome. We're saying the necessary antecedent to have gas pressure in the first instance is a container. So that's a necessary antecedent consequent relationship, as opposed to us saying anything about the sky. I don't know what the sky is. I do know that to have gas pressure, you must have a container. Something to press on.
Right, yeah.
Did you say that Bob said that gravity is the container? Did I hear you right? I'm
yes.
sorry. Okay, so gravity is the container.
Gravity gets rid of the need for a solid type barrier container because gravity pulls.
So if gravity is the container,
just before we get into the verbalization, did he give a demonstration of that?
No, of course not.
So he just pointed to the sky. I just want to summarize because I haven't seen the video. But so what he did was made an assertion, had no evidence whatsoever to back it, and then pointed to the sky with his circular reasoning to assert his fundamentalist belief about what the sky does. Correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's wonderful. Fundies, eh?
Yeah, and I told him when I asked him for experimentation or some sort of evidence that, you know, his gas pressure gradient due to density and you wouldn't even need gravity is true, and he pointed to the billowing cloud system.
Oh yeah.
I said, oh great. I think there's a container. So you don't disprove a container. I'm going to assert container. So I can do it just as easily.
Yeah, circular reasoning, so easy. Shout out to Eric McKinney for smashing the super chat. Thank you very much indeed for your support.
So I've argued that conceptually, as long as there are two dimensions, two directions pretty much contained somehow, that upwards, for example, technically it could be supremely vast. And that would mean that the gradient would start to accumulate, start to like double the distance over which the total pressure will diminish or half, that kind of thing, and it will keep on expanding. But there will be no vacuum anywhere in that technical sense. There will definitely be that gradient, but there will be no vacuum at any point. So, yeah, a gradient can be in huge areas, but there will never be a vacuum as part of that gradient at any point.
But when does the gradient go from non-zero to zero?
It doesn't ever. That can only happen theoretically if the space is eternally large.
Hold on. So that would be called a burden of proof fallacy, correct? So you're reversing the burden of proof. We don't claim that, Ruth, if you do.
I'm asking a question, Nathan.
Yeah,
and I'm
about
answering
hold
it.
on about
I can
what?
answer.
Hold on about what you claim. So that would be the burden of proof reversal fallacy. Then
we agree.
Sorry, I don't claim the sky is a vacuum. You do.
Right.
I'm sure we agree that there is a pressure gradient, do we not?
Sorry,
I can
excuse
expand
me.
upon
Hold
what I
on,
said,
hold on.
please.
Straw man using asshole. So Ruhif's already used 2 fallacies. Sorry, we agree there's a what? Sorry.
We agree there's a pressure gradient, right?
Oh right. So why would you talk about it being at 0 then? Because that's not what you asserted first off. So now we're going to use this little straw man. Yeah, we agree. So what? You can't have a gas pressure gradient without a container either.
At what point is a container required?
It's the necessary antecedent. You need something
the
to press
start,
on to have pressure. Can you show us any example? I can show you 1,000. Can you show me a single example where you don't need a container, please, Ruhif? Without using hold on. Without using the Bob the Fallacy guy pointing at the sky with circular reasoning, please.
Our atmosphere has a pressure gradient.
Oh, so you are going to use your fundamentalist belief in what the sky does to prove what the sky does. That's called circular reasoning. That's 3 for 3. How many more fallacies you got, Ruhif?
Ruhif, I just claim there's a dome. How about that?
Hey, yeah, I'll point at the sky, Ruhif. Ruhif, he says there's a dome. Look at the sky. Look at the sky. That proves there's a dome, right? Circular reasoning 101, my friend. That's 3 fallacies you've used in one sitting.
Show me this dome, Christopher.
What?
I'm suggesting
mumble.
there's an eternal gradient.
Mumble. Yeah, you haven't answered any of my questions. Is there an example of a gas pressure without the necessary antecedent, Ruhif? Your claim, your fundamentalist belief.
You claim there needs to be a barrier. I don't.
Yeah, I've just said. You haven't addressed it. I can give you 1,000 examples of a barrier, a container needing to be there, something to press on to have pressure. Yeah, I can demonstrate that with ease. Now, can you...
That's called a
you're interrupting me, man. You've not addressed my point. Yeah, I heard your point twice. Now address mine. Have you got an... Ruhif, it's all right, my friend. You fundies are all the same. Is this your only tactic? Yeah, listen to it, then address it. Simple. Listen to it first. Do you have any one single example of gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container? Please show it me.
I reject your assertion that it needs a container.
Sorry. My assertion, it's the necessary antecedent. Thousands upon thousands of demonstrations that adhere to this necessary antecedent example. You don't have a single example, but you say you reject my claim. No, Fundy.
Do you know what a black swan fallacy is, Nathan?
This is called a red herring fallacy. That's 4.
Do you know what a black swan fallacy is?
Sorry, does it have anything... Sorry, is this a demonstration of gas pressure without a container? Or is it a red herring fallacy?
The atmosphere is a demonstration.
Excuse me, Fundy. We've dealt with this, you stupid fuckwit. Yeah, pointing at the sky. Shut up. Okay. Pointing at the sky and asserting what the sky does is your fundamentalist fuckwit circular reasoning. Didn't you hear me this first and second time?
I've heard you, Nathan.
Well then, show me the necessary antecedent not being required as you believe. Don't just tell me the sky does it. Don't tell me you reject the necessary antecedent. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. You can't just hand wave this away. Sorry, we actually want to see your fundamentalist belief that you don't need a container, even though there's tens of thousands, if not millions of examples of containers holding gas pressure. You think you don't need it? Show it us.
The atmosphere. You don't need a container.
How many more times will this fuckwit assert his fundamentalist zealotry belief about what the sky does? Yet you're trying to prove the sky is a vacuum. Don't point at the sky, you stupid moron. That's 3 times. How dumb are you? Have you got some sort of Tourette's issue where you keep repeating the same shit over and over again?
No, it's really late for him, to be fair.
I think he's just got Tourette's. You got Tourette's?
Probably just
you got
tired.
Tourette's? Don't point at the sky to prove what you think the sky is. You claim it's an open... Yeah, there we go. There he goes again. Only tactic that they've got when they're being demolished by me is to talk. While I talk and rip apart your fundy belief in the sky vacuum. Don't just point at it and say that's what it is, you fucking fundy. Show me it without a container. Gas pressure without it. Go, Rufus, go. Prove your fundy belief.
I will keep pointing at the sky until you kick me out, Nathan.
Oh, well, then you're just a fucking pathetic fundy, then, aren't you, you stupid zealot? No, let's stay and poke fun at him. So you're just going to use circular reasoning, logical fallacy, to prove your fundy belief. How pathetic is that?
I'm not trying to prove.
Yeah, you are. You're saying the sky is a vacuum, and then you're pointing at the sky. That's circular reasoning, dickhead. Don't you understand this simple logical fallacy? What a retard.
Well, fantasist, because you're
fundy.
Fundamentally believing that a natural law just doesn't work. That makes you a fantasist.
Yeah, fundy.
Okay.
Unless you have a good reason.
Yeah, he's right. You're a fundy. You're a fantasist.
Okay.
You can't demonstrate your belief in a sky vacuum. All you can do is use logical fallacy and point to it and go, I believe it's a sky vacuum. There, it proves it. Right, dickhead? Keep doing it. We'll keep laughing at you.
Okay, I'll keep pointing at the sky for another 20 minutes.
Good, you fucking fundy. We'll all laugh at you. Circular reasoning, it's a logical fallacy. You're just too retarded to realise, and you'll keep doing it like a total dumbfuck.
Nathan, I think that Ruhif needs the prayer.
Radius Dominus, Gravitus Spiritus Sanctus, Arwin. Go in peace, Ruhif. In R you trust.
I did have a question about bricks.
Hey,
why?
Rufus.
Why? Hold on. You haven't shown us gas pressure without a container. All you've done is continually assert your fundamentalist belief about it, and now you want to move on.
Rufus, Nathan's already stated that he will show cause and effect for his position. Please show us yours.
Nathan has asked me to show you a gas pressure without a container. I'm pointing at the atmosphere.
That's your fundy belief. That's the 5th time I've told him. That's a logical fallacy. It's called circular reasoning. Repeat after me. Repeat after me. Repeat after me. That is a logical fallacy. It is circular reasoning. Do you not get this? Are you too dumb? I thought you were educated. Isn't this sinking in?
You've asked me 3 questions. Can I respond?
Yeah, do you not understand that asserting your proof of a sky vacuum by pointing at it is circular reasoning? You don't get that? Are you too dumb? You want to ask me questions? Just go, yeah, I'm too dumb. I like using logical fallacies because I'm a fundy.
You're just going to keep interrupting me, Nathan?
You haven't shown me gas pressure without a container. I don't give a shit what you've got to say. You've told me your position. I'll just keep pointing at the sky. Yeah? Yeah, I know. Yeah. You're a fundy. All you've got to prove the sky vacuum is pointing at the sky and claiming it's a vacuum.
My turn?
You've told me your position, fuckwit. Did you not realise that you closed all doors to this argument? Yeah, you're going to talk over me. You've closed... Arwen's going to rumpus me. You've closed all doors to this argument by telling me your position. I will point at the sky continually for 20 minutes until you kick me out. I know your position, you dumb fundy. You've told us.
Right, and you might be pointing up, but you're pointing at the ceiling, which happens to also be a container, by the way.
Yeah, and you asked if I was going to bring something new, and I am. I actually did come on to talk about bricks. So Nathan put up a video this morning about looking at a brick that was beyond the diffraction limit. So you couldn't see it, and he talks about, adding a second brick on top. Can you now see those 2 bricks, or can you add 10 bricks or whatever? All in a effort to show that things disappear from the bottom up. So my question for Nathan is, if one brick is unresolvable, and let's say you attach it to a drone 50 feet or 100 feet or whatever in the air, but you also have 10 bricks stacked on the ground, which one will you see?
Who cares? You're looking against the deck.
Who cares?
That's what,
The bricks on the ground.
Sorry,
The
I was
bricks
trying to
on the
answer
ground.
Roo here. I got 2 words out. Who cares when we're looking at how things disappear against the deck? Are we looking at how things disappear when they're hovering on drones? Or do you just need to make this false equivalence? Because the angle is against the deck. Didn't you get that part? That's where the things that we talk about disappearing happen. You moron!
So you won't see the brick in the air, but you
Hey,
will see the bricks
fuckwit!
on the
You're
ground.
gonna actually address what I've said. Yet there is no example you will provide, like gas pressure without a container, of us comparing pictures of fucking hovering drones looking at it disappearing. We always look at the stuff that's against the horizon, against the deck, dickhead. That's what gives you the limited angle. You stupid fundy moron. Like gas pressure without a container, you won't give me a single example that we've looked at where there's a hovering bottom disappearing. Will you, fundy? You just need to take this example out of context. Yeah, the bottom disappears because that's where the limited angle is. Against the deck. Dickhead.
Keep reporting the question, Nathan.
What? You're going to show me an example of where we've got hovering bricks that we're looking at and working out Earth curve calculations for how much has disappeared in the middle of the fucking air? Or do we tend to compare things that have disappeared against the deck, against the horizon? Where's it gone? Oh, well, the horizon's an Earth curve blocking it. No, the horizon's the limited end of your vision, the diffraction limit, where things disappear because they're too small of an angle against the deck. That's what gives you the angle you're looking at. And as you raise, you can increase that angle. But when you're nice and low, that angle's really small, forcing the diffraction limit to come earlier and things to disappear from bottom up. Nothing to do with bloody drones and false equivalences that you're giving us. Yeah, stuff that's higher up, you'll have a higher angle to it. But against the deck you won't, will you, Ruhif?
Yep.
Silence from the fundy fuckwit.
Oh, my question still hasn't been answered, Nathan.
Yeah, you can see the brick if it was on a drone, because you'd have a wider angle to it. What about next to the deck, Ruhif? I've answered your fundy question. I've answered your fundy question. Now you answer me. Against the deck, with a limited angle, if something is beyond the diffraction limit, I'll say it again in case he missed it, we know he's stupid or deaf. Against the deck, with the limited angle, once something's gone beyond the diffraction limit, can you make it come back by putting things on top of it, Ruhif? Na 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 na. How long are you gonna need, Fundy?
The angular size of one brick doesn't change whether it is high in the air or on the ground.
Yeah, it does.
So your
No, it does. You're wrong. Yeah, you're wrong. Yeah, you're wrong. Do you know what foreshortening is?
I do.
Well, as you get lower to the deck, your angle is decreased. What do you mean? That was a very weak concession from the guy with the shittiest mic on the panel. What's wrong with your audio, fucking Fundwit Fundy? Can't you sort your audio out? All you've done is create disturbance, assert a fundy belief in a sky vacuum, and now concede that by the effects of foreshortening, the lower angle, say it again for the fundy, against the deck, is a very limited angle, and things can absolutely disappear from bottom up because of the diffraction limit, Ruhif. What's wrong? Not enough silence for you to come up with a fundy fuckwit reply?
No, you just keep putting implicit assumptions in your question, so I
No assumptions. Due to a limitation of the angle, you can reach the diffraction limit and obscure things from bottom up. This is a fact of optics. You don't have to like it, you stupid fundy. You can just assert that when you put things in Muppet vision and give them in actual sizes, feet and inches, that don't change with distance, then when you look at it side on, geometric Earth curve is the reason and only reason things disappear from bottom up. But I and everyone watching knows, and Apollo knows, and it seems you know, that there is a diffraction limit. That things can disappear due to a limited angular size, and a brick that's gone can have stuff on top of it that can be seen, but it's still at the bottom and can't be.
No. Just
That's a really good hand wave dismissal there from the fundy fuckwit. No.
You want to run through an example, Nathan?
I can't even hear you. Your mic's so crap. These retards that don't even know how to use a microphone.
Ruhef says no, but he actually saying inside no.
What's wrong with my mic? Is my mic that bad?
Yeah, it's fine now. I think it was actually my end. Sorry.
We could hear you, Ruhif.
Excuse me.
I haven't been able to understand.
Oh, what the fuck? So you're going to come here, tell us about your fundy sky belief in a vacuum, belch, you disgusting slob.
Just testing the mic.
You disgusting slob.
Hang on. Is that Skype for me or is that Skype for the panel?
Hey, Ranty.
That might have been me.
Ranty.
Hello.
We could hear you, Rancy.
How's it going?
So total fail from Ruhif.
Ruhif, you haven't even conceded the container, the sky. You haven't even given us a demonstration of the sky holding in the gases without being a container. Can you please do that?
Nathan asked for an example of gas pressure without a container. I pointed to the sky. I'm not saying, like a begging question fallacy is when you say in one of your premises that the sky doesn't have a container, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, the conclusion is that the sky doesn't have a container.
All right, I would assert that the sky is unicorn farts. Ranty, can you look at the sky for me? Do you want to know why it's blue? Unicorn farts. Do you know the proof? Look at the sky. That's akin to your argument. That's how crap your argument is.
It's the edge of the matrix, you know it.
Ruhif, pointing to the sky doesn't prove anything. You need to
I'm not trying to prove anything.
No, it's just his fundamentalist fuckwit religious belief. He doesn't want to prove it. He just wants to believe in it. He wants to believe in Narnia because space is really cool, isn't it?
Let me give Ruhif an example. I have five greenhouses, and the ones that have the plastic covering on, they're hotter when I walk into those. The ones that I have not put the plastic cover on, I don't feel the heat. So instead of pointing, I say the reason it's hotter in here is because I have a container of plastic keeping the heat in. When we walk to the greenhouse without the plastic container, it's not hot. So I'm proving why there's heat.
No, you're not proving it. You're seeing a correlation. That's all you're seeing.
No, it's the necessary antecedent. It's not a correlation. Sorry, if it was a correlation, there'd be examples that don't conform to it. The exceptions to the rule. Now, I want you to show us that exception to the rule. It's not a coincidence. It's not a correlation. It's an antecedent.
I reject your antecedent.
So, rejection because of faith in a sky vacuum that you'll point to in a minute? Or do you have any examples that defy that?
I reject your antecedent.
I don't give a shit what you reject, you fundy. Do you think that's wet? Do you think that has weight here? Your rejection of a necessary antecedent? Oh, who cares, you fundy? You reject it, do you? Wowee! You reject it. Oh, that's good for you. Where you getting your PSI values from then? What's it pressing on? What's the per inch?
That's a good question, actually. Where am I getting the PSI values on? Right, so we have gas pressure at the surface, right? 14 PSI. All right, we agree?
In what direction?
At the top. No, listen to the show. At the top. What's it pressing on at the Do you think I give a shit about ground level when we're talking about a sky vacuum you believe in? Do you think I care about the bottom? What's it pressing on at the top?
Ruhif, please answer this question. Does a correlation have physical form?
I don't even know what that question means, to be honest. Does a correlation?
Well, you said that my plastic cover is a correlation. I look at it as a physical form. It cost me $400, and I could see it and touch it.
No, you're seeing a correlation. You're seeing a correlation between
physical form.
You're seeing a correlation between having a roof on your greenhouse and higher heat, and not having a roof and lower heat, right?
Go on.
Yeah. Do you think that proves that the roof causes the change in heat?
What it proves is that the heat that would normally rise to an equilibrium is contained within the container of the greenhouse roof. That's what it proves.
It doesn't prove it. This is actually what I want to take note.
Oh, really? Really? It doesn't prove it. Go to any greenhouse and tell me why you feel heat at that level of ground, and walk outside without it, and you don't feel the same heat, and because it's dissipating higher. Are you nuts?
The greenhouse effect is officially, literally trapping.
He's not nuts. At least he's consistent. Sorry. Hold on. You can't get away with that. He's not nuts for being consistent. He rejects the antecedent of a container and relabels it a correlation. The guy's an idiot.
I would like everyone listening to Google the term scientific proof.
You reject science, Ruhif.
No, I don't reject science.
And you reject science.
I reject that science proves things.
Yeah, you reject the foundations of it all.
You reject that it proves things. Proves or disproves your hypothesis.
No, it doesn't.
So it doesn't prove or disprove a hypothesis. That's not the entire purpose of science, to prove or disprove a hypothesis.
It does not prove or disprove. It provides support or it disproves.
So it disproves.
What can disprove, yes.
So if it's disproving it, what's the opposite of disproving? Not quite disproving?
Oh, it's the same kind of.
Sorry, you're not answering. What's the opposite of disproving? Sorry, what's the opposite of disproving?
Proving.
So you're saying it disproves or
confirms.
Confirms. So confirms would be the same as validates or proves. Confirms. Confirmation. Proof. That's what confirmation is. Proof. Validation. Yes. It validates or invalidates your hypothesis. So your assertion is wrong. It does prove or disprove. No, it does validate or invalidate. It does confirm or deny your hypothesis, Ruhif. You're just an idiot. Again, lots of demonstrations of stupidity from Ruhif today. Happy days.
Happy days. We've still got 5 minutes, Nathan. Question. If you are charged with a crime and you go on trial, are you found guilty or innocent? Or are you found guilty or not guilty?
Oh, another equivocation fallacy. Scientific evidence is not the same as judicial evidence. These are very different standards, Ruhif. Why would you juxtapose scientific evidence with courtroom evidence? They're not the same.
To show you what a true dichotomy is, Nathan.
Oh, really? Well, we're not talking about what happens in a courtroom. We're talking about validation of hypothesis. That's what we're talking about. So, yeah, in a courtroom, yeah, you can't establish the cause definitively, empirically, in a courtroom, but you definitely can with science. You can validate or invalidate your hypothesis. That's the point of doing it.
You can provide support for a hypothesis.
Oh, so it's support again now, is it? It's just support.
Good volley.
Seems to be circle jerking us. It's gone back to support again, has it? Wow. What a wanker.
You're breaking up, by the way, Nathan.
When I ask for support of the reality of a greenhouse, you can't even give it. You deny the reality of a greenhouse. Why would anyone take anything you say seriously?
I think you guys all need a bit of schooling in philosophy of science.
What, from a retard that can't demonstrate a single assertion that he makes? That circle jerks us, that uses logical fallacy and circular reasoning to prove his fundamentalist belief in a sky vacuum? You think you should be educating us? What an absolute outrage.
I think Ruhif, you should come into my greenhouse when it's 100 degrees and see how long you can sit there before your body starts to sweat and you'll cry to be let out.
That's very interesting,
I
Ruhif.
completely accept that the greenhouse with a roof on will be hotter than the one without. Don't get me wrong.
I deny your antecedent of a container being necessary. And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, then unfortunately, this is where we bid you farewell. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to Tina for smashing the super chat in a big way. Sorry for not getting a shout out to you earlier. And of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this debate possible. Again, if you're watching on Nathan Oakley, stay tuned. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
You pointed to the atmosphere, and you mentioned something rejecting. Are you rejecting the vacuum?
No, I reject Nathan's assertion that it requires a container.
So what do you think the vacuum is? Is it a vacuum?
Space. Oh, it's near enough to a vacuum, yeah.
But the vacuum, do you know exactly what the vacuum does, right?
Vacuums do nothing.
Well, actually,
The vacuum.
it sucks things, doesn't it?
Can I offer?
Suck things.
Can I offer an alternative to that?
Sure. Go ahead, Babs.
Right. Okay, so this is all hypothetical. I'm not saying this is actually what's going on. So would you agree that the atmosphere itself has a weight, it has a density, right?
You talking to me or
I'm talking to the whole panel.
That's a good one, Babs. Yeah, keep going.
Can I just correct something? Someone just said that the vacuum sucks. That is just fundamentally wrong. Do you
I'm not talking about the vacuum right now.
I know, but I just want to clarify with the previous guy that vacuums do not suck. Do you understand they do not suck?
Well, man.
All right. Well, it's more of a semantic.
Give me a second. I just woke up.
Right. So if the atmosphere has a weight value to it, wouldn't the atmosphere be exerting a pressure based on its weight?
I would agree with that.
So why would you need a container for that to happen?
Yeah, that's my point.
I'm just asking a question. I'm not making any assertions. I'm just trying to figure out how that would work.
Yes.
Yeah, does nobody know how to answer that? Or what's going on?
Hello?
Hey, John.
Hey, John.
I'm going to make another video to you, John.
I just woke up, man. So.
Hey, John. Yeah.
You guys are killing me with these early times, man. What's going on?
No, Ruhif denies the antecedent of a container.
Ruhif is a retard. Why did you guys call me for him?
Well, how come nobody's answered my question yet?
I'm sorry. Could you ask it again? I didn't
hear.
I can't.
Right,
I can't hear you, Nathan.
I was asking. Do we all agree that the atmosphere has a weight to it?
Yes.
Okay.
The atmosphere is not a single entity. It's an inhomogeneous, anisotropic mixture of gases. It's not one thing.
What he said.
Those gases have a weight value.
What is gas behavior? Who am I talking to?
You're talking to Chris right now.
Chris who?
Chris Med.
Chris, are you a baller?
No.
Gases. What is typical gas behavior? Just explain it in 1 to 2 sentences.
What is typical gas behavior?
Yes, at standard temperature and pressure.
What do gases do?
Isn't that relative, though? See you, Chris. No, go on.
They move freely and randomly at high speeds. They're not a fucking blanket, right?
They're not, but Aren't
right.
gases made out of atoms and molecules?
They move freely and randomly at high speeds. Always trying to increase entropy. They will fill the volume that's available to them. And let me ask you something. How the hell can you have volume without a container? Where's that retard Ruhif at? Show us volume without a container.
Trace a cubic foot in front of you with your fingers. That's a volume.
Cubic foot. Define it. Have him define a container. Does he have screen share? I want a citation with friggin' volume.
Define volume.
Yeah.
Space.
Define volume.
A three-dimensional space.
No. Define volume. Citation, please.
You want me to Google the word volume, like define colon
I
volume?
want you damn right I do.
Well, you
I
can do
wouldn't
that.
trust
sure
you as far as I could throw you, you retard. You don't even know what drop is.
Is a volume just the space that an object occupies?
You should have came along when the evolution presentation last week. I was waiting for you. When are we going to have that debate, me and you, Ruhif? The ones you ran away from because I caught your dumb ass.
If you just woke up, QE.
When were we ever going to have a debate?
Yeah, that's right. You ran away. Oh, I'll debate you, QE, on God evolution about 8 months ago. You freaking ran away. I tried to take you down, but your fucking yellow spines.
What I actually said was that I'll give a presentation as to why.
Get the hell out of here. I don't care what you actually say. Yeah, I'll give a present. No, you didn't. You said you'd debate. Betty tried to chase you down. And said
Citation, please. Citation, please, John.
Yeah, you're a fucking clown. Do you know what vertical drop is? We're going to get to that right after this container.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
fucking guy doesn't know what vertical drop is. I got you cameoed. Brother, on the Cosby Bridge on Irwin's channel.
Who's driving? I can't hear anything.
Yeah, I made you a star. In fact, let's go pull that up right now. Shit.
All right. I'll give you 5 minutes. It's past midnight here.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up right now. I'll give you 5 minutes. I'll bet you couldn't even friggin' count for 5 minutes. How do you do it? With sand drop? Hold on a second, Nathan. Let me share my screen. We're going to get back to this container here in a second. We need to show it before he runs away.
Volume is just the space that an object occupies.
Hold on a second, man. Hold on a second.
An object.
Share my screen here, Nathan.
Before you say this, could you get before you get into this? Can I just ask?
Yes, you are.
Nathan, did you get to thank the people for the drone campaign?
Yeah. I did
on the previous show.
A little bit in the introduction. I will do it at the beginning of the next show.
Right. Okay.
There you are.
Good.
You're up.
Okay. Let me know when you're done.
Yeah, you're on.
So, Roofy, you seeing this?
I can see your screen. Yes.
Roofy, this is what you said to Arwen. So you understand that an area with the same elevation is a curved surface?
On a globe, yes. Correct.
On a globe? No, son. This is the definition of flat. You ready? From Merriam-Webster. Level. To make a... Hold on. Level. To make a line or surface horizontal. Make a flat or level. Synonyms: flat, flush, even, plane. Level, flat, plane, even, smooth means having a surface without bends, curves, roofy, or irregularities. So, what's up with that, man? Do you think you live on a level curve?
No, I just think you cherry pick definitions and don't take into account.
I cherry pick definitions. Do you know what cherry pick means?
Yeah, you find a definition that suits your purposes, and that's what you use.
Oh, no, that's not cherry picking. You friggin' clown, you. Cherry picking is taking something out of context. So, how did I take this definition from Merriam-Webster out of context? You friggin' crayon muncher. You don't even know what cherry picking means. Why am I even talking to you?
I'm sure if I actually looked up the definition of the word theory in Merriam-Webster, it would say conjecture.
Level,
yes,
right here. We're on this topic. Don't try to divert. You're not getting away with this little feeble diversion. Red herring fallacy. You think that's going to work on me? Or the audience? Show how this definition is cherry-picked. You frigging crayon muncher, you. It would be easier to resurrect Alexander the Great's horse than to show this being cherry-picked.
I'm sure it's valid in some context.
Oh, I'm sure it's valid in some context. Level isn't curve. Your F72 code.
You're the biggest child I've ever seen.
F72. No, I'm just frustrated by friggin' pretender clowns pretending to be all polite. They're standing behind you. They're pissing down your back. Oh, this and this and that. Well, when I turn around and I catch you pissing down my back, I'm going to rip your pathetic little pecker off. How about that?
Okay.
Friggin' clown. You can't even reconcile level and curve. Why are we even talking to you?
Well, you don't have to.
Yeah. Why? Who called me?
I added you to the call because Ranty had already tied up the Skype line and the panel was full. So I thought I'll add him so when he wakes up and at his leisure comes along, he can actually join the call. And I've not got to muck around in between shows because that's usually when you call. But you ironically just picked up immediately. I was like, oh, okay. I only wanted to add you to the call. But there we go. Happy days, you're here.
Ranty knows that on a curved surface, an area with the same elevation.
I just turned the computer on, man. It started ringing. So Rufy lives on a level curve. You understand that?
I don't use the word level.
According to your religion, that every point along a tangent from your feet drops vertically at 8 inches per mile squared. Did you know that? Do you know what vertical drop is?
Yeah, it's not the same as elevation.
Really? Let's go over vertical drop. Is my screen still up, Nathan?
No,
I can see
just about
and
to start
again,
the live stream.
Going to,
hold on.
You know what a dictionary fallacy is?
Yeah, the dictionary. See, we're defining terms. When you say it doesn't mean that, well, when we go to the dictionary to define terms, it's called the Socratic method. You heard of that before?
Yeah. I have, yes.
Yeah. Tell us what is the Socratic method. I'll tell you what, we're going to pond you right here. Then we'll get to the Socratic method. If I forget, somebody tell me. All right, drop. To fall vertically, have an abrupt descent. From Oxford Dictionary, drop, let or make something fall vertically. Height, altitude, elevation mean vertical distance. What do you mean it doesn't mean vertical drop? What's the problem here, Rufy?
The problem is that these definitions can be applied to so many different contexts.
Oh,
and the
these are
context where we're talking about sea level and elevation.
What are you talking about? So many different contexts. What do you mean?
Yeah. There's elevation right there. It's in capitalized bold types
why
with
do you
quotes around
always rely so heavily on dictionaries?
Because we define terms, you little fruitcake. So all you baltards do is redefine terms. You just make shit up like extreme super looming compression. And you think we can't tell?
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. And most importantly, if you'd like to join this discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, Then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are currently joined by Quantum Eraser, The Plain Truth, Ruhif, Anti-Flat Earth, Jessica, Physics Warrior, Paul, Chris, Arwin, and 10th Man. Very good to have you all.
Hello, hello, hello.
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 Yeah, I thought it was Science Warrior.
Hello, everybody.
Still got you presented, John. I'm happy to dispense with housekeeping if you want to carry on with the point that was being made in the in-between stages.
John?
John's still here.
If he's
Did
gone
we
on
go
mute,
through
maybe he's gone on-
housekeeping, Nathan?
No,
we
he
might
just said he was
do some
going
housekeeping.
to dispense with it.
Get my screen shares properly. Bear with me 1 second. Any signs of Earth-based curvature?
Nope.
Nope.
No, Nathan. But from what I'm hearing, the Marines actually on the water, they have buoy systems, and they should have some kind of GPS sensors on it.
They have accelerometers on them and GPS, yeah.
That, I mean, we have never discussed as far as going forward, discussing the shape of the water itself. So I found that interesting with these buoys, which is a root word for buoyant. So if anybody has any information on these GPS trackers and how it's mapped out, I'm pretty interested. So now,
Yeah,
I don't
one
have proof
second.
for
1
curvature,
second.
but
1 second. Sorry, I was muted. I thought we were dispensing with.
Yeah, but you were on
housekeeping.
mute. You didn't reply.
I did, but I was on mute, man. I'm talking, and you just guys are keep talking and talking. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. We'll finish housekeeping, and then I'll root up Roofy after it's over.
Okay.
Dispense with housekeeping and let's go straight to John because I got to go to bed.
No, that's fair enough. That's why I was actually being considerate to Ruhif. So
Thank you.
yeah, he is up later than all of us. He's
Well, yeah. It's Be Kind to Dumb Animal Week, so yeah, I can see your point. So, Roofy, do you know what the Socratic method is?
Yes, asking questions to elucidate the other person's position and get them to realize their own contradictions if they exist.
That's not all. And in fact, that's incorrect. Are you seeing this? From Webster's New World College Dictionary. A method of teaching or discussion like that used by Socrates, in which by means of a series of questions and answers, the logical soundness of a definition is tested. The meaning of a concept examined. You see this, Roofy? That's why I'm looking for definitions. Do you understand now, Clown Show?
That sentence that you've got there, right? Blah, 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 answers the logical soundness of a definition is tested, or the meaning of a concept examined, or etc.
No, not or. Where's the or?
That's the way I read the sentence. By the comma.
Where's the or? I don't see or in here.
The comma. The comma is the or.
Commas. Now punctuation marks mean shit to you.
Oh, shit.
What did periods mean? Vertical drop?
Man. Come on, get into it.
What do periods mean? Vertical drop? Can you pull the definition up? Pull the definition of a comma.
It's a cycle of the month with females.
Hurry up.
Pull the. Come on, Roofy.
No, hurry up, or I gotta go to bed. Come on, get to your point.
Yeah, slap right in your face. I already did it in the pre-show. I mean, you think you live on a level curve. You don't understand what vertical drop is. What else don't you get? You believe in your fairy tale evolution, right?
I did a video.
What
actually.
else?
The presentation that I was going to give, I made a video about. It's called "Why Common Descent is a Fact."
Yeah, I think I commented on that. Because I don't watch your videos. Somebody said you made a video on common descent. It was like
I'm sure you don't watch mine.
4 or 5 weeks ago. I think I commented on that.
I'll check it out.
Your common descent. I went over common descent on Ballbusters last week. Were you there?
No.
Oh, you missed it. I did it like 4 times.
I can't see a comment there.
Say again?
You're not blocked. I can't see a comment, and you're not blocked.
You didn't. No, you didn't block me. You can't see my comment on there. I'll have to check it later. I'm not going to track that down. I'm pretty sure I commented. In fact, I'm 100% positive.
Anyway, why common descent is a fact and why common designer is not. And it's only like
well, you're a moron. Yeah. You're a philosophical naturalist. Tell us something, Rufy. You believe that ink, paper, and glue molecules author technical instruction manuals and blueprints. You understand that, right?
I don't get the analogy, but no, I don't think that.
Okay, the ink, paper, and glue molecules are ribose nucleobases and activated phosphates, and the manual is DNA.
Okay.
Yeah, you believe that.
What do I believe about DNA?
You believe it comes. That's what I just said. That's what you believe. It has information in it. Where'd the information come from?
When I speak to creationists, I actually say, for arguendo, let's say God created the first cell with everything that we need.
Oh, you're not a creationist? I didn't.
Am I
not a creationist?
an idiot, John?
Can you explain that in laws of thermodynamics and quantum mechanics?
Sorry, John.
Huh?
Hold on a second.
Again?
Sorry. What do you mean when you say you prefaced it with for the sake of argument? So what do you mean by that bit? How does that preface work?
For the sake of argument, we can agree that God created the first living cell, and then from that point, I can demonstrate that common descent is a fact, in that it would be perverse to deny it.
Wow. Really?
You called me a creationist, and then you say, well, we could say that God created the first. What are you, some type of moron?
You think God and evolution are completely?
Kind of Scientologist, maybe.
You think God and common descent
Hold on. Sorry, maybe I'm missing something, Ruhif. But by conceding that, you're essentially saying I will agree to creationism at the beginning of the argument.
No. Speaking of true dichotomies and false dichotomies, I actually see creationism and common descent as a true dichotomy. Some people disagree with that. That's fine. I see it as a true dichotomy. Either we are related to other species or we are not related to other species. I see that as a true dichotomy. If we're not related, I call that creationism.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Hold on. Carry on, Ruhif.
Yeah, if we are not related to other species, I call that creationism. If we are related, that's common descent.
What the hell? Are you a moron? That's friggin' fallacious. It doesn't fall. It's a non sequitur. Say that one more time.
I see creationism and common descent as a true dichotomy. Some people disagree, and I accept that, but I see it as a true dichotomy. Either we are related to other species or we are not.
Are related to other species. Species is a man-made convention. That's a begging the question fallacy right off the show the experiment where we're related. Hold on a second. I want the experiment. Let's go through this.
I can play my video.
Your video. Who cares about your video? You're going to do it right here in front of all of us. We want to see the experiment where species are related. Wait one.
I'll play my video.
No, you're not playing your video. You're going through this step by step. Do you know what the scientific method is?
Why?
Here
Actually,
we go.
That's a good question. It's a good question.
Here we go.
Why do you guys?
Here we go. Scientific method. We're ready for the species related. Natural phenomena observed, please.
No, listen. Why do you guys jump straight to science?
Natural phenomena observed, please. We're talking science right now. You said you did.
No, you are talking science. You are talking science.
No.
I want to know what you guys. Why you guys put value on science.
Hold on. We're talking about a cause and effect relationship, right?
No,
so
I'm talking about
the effect.
An inference to the best explanation.
So the effect isn't evolution.
No. You guys have brought the phrase scientific method into it, right? I haven't. I would like to know what you guys value about science. Why do you say, demonstrate this scientifically? What value do you put on science?
It's the empiricism that it offers.
Okay, that's a good answer.
I'll tell you what. Hold on. Since he's not going to give us any science, let me just go ahead and friggin' drag him around by his short hairs right here. You seeing this, Nathan?
Oh, John, really? You're a child.
Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah. You seeing this, Nathan?
Yeah, it's all presented.
All right, let's go with Ruhif's Tree of Life. Ancestry, common descent, the phylogenetic tree. A. If ancestry is not assumed from similarities, then there is no correlation between similarities and ancestry. Ergo, to make the argument, you need to make that assumption, i.e., like I said, it's a begging the question fallacy from the get-go. B. All they have is a textbook affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If P, then Q, Q, therefore P. Example, if evolution is true, P, then insert any Darwinian grab bag post hoc observation, fossils, homology, similarity, genetic variation, Q. We observe Q, post hoc observation, therefore evolution is true, therefore P. Or, to our topic specific, I'm not done yet. To our topic specific, if common ancestry is true, P, we will observe similarities, Q. We observe similarities, Q. Therefore, common ancestry is true. Therefore, P. The logical fallacy...
Science. No, science doesn't do that.
The logical fallacy is that P doesn't necessarily follow from Q. If I had eaten a whole pizza, P, I would feel very full, Q. I feel very full, Q. Therefore, I've just eaten a whole pizza. Therefore, P. Couldn't I have eaten a 20-ounce ribeye with fries or the old 96er? So let's put this misery, I'm almost done. Let's put this quackery out of its misery quick. Dr. Craig Venter, atheist evolutionist, the grand poobah of geneticists, the geneticist of geneticists. Listen closely. There is no tree of life. It's an artifact from early scientific studies than art holding up. So there is not a tree of life. The audience gasped. Dawkins and Krauss turned different shades of green. You hear that sound, Ruhif? That's the common descent fairy tale carousel tree circling the drain at light speed, son. As if he actually needed to say it. I'm done.
Okay. Science does not affirm the consequent. This is why I keep saying to you guys,
you
science
do.
Doesn't prove
science
things.
doesn't.
I'm speaking.
You're not dealing in science. You're
stop
dealing in pseudoscience.
Hang on, guys, just a minute. QE just literally had 5 minutes. And then Ruhif gets 10 words out of his mouth, and you guys jump all over him. That's very rude.
You bet, because that was a falsehood right there that he said.
Yeah. He said, let's move away from science. Why do you guys want to use science? Why do you want it? We say it offers empiricism. And then Johnny immediately says, okay, let's move away from science then. And then uses his example, formulates it. And Ruhif goes, well, that's not science. No, it's your example, formulated into the logical fallacy that it is.
Well, can't that be pulled apart after he's finished what he needs to say?
Well, it's starting. That's what they usually do, Ranty. They put the damaging bit in the headline, so then they can waffle with the assertion that they've made in the first sentence, the most damaging bit, the bit that's complete bollocks, as their first sentence.
But can't that be addressed after he's at least been allowed to speak? That's the only point that I would say.
Well, yeah, but what the problem is, like Nathan said, they start off with a falsehood, right? So we're operating from a false premise to listen to 5 minutes of horseshit.
Yeah.
So he said science doesn't affirm the consequent. No one said it does. We're saying you affirm the consequent.
You've literally just shown an if P then Q, Q then P. Right?
That's your example. It's you and your proof and how it's a logical fallacy. So yeah, that's what you're doing.
Listen.
Do you even know your own name?
This is why I say science does not prove things. It either provides support for or disproves.
This is what I
Wait a second.
This is what I have with him.
He just said science doesn't prove things.
He said that to me as well. I took him through that little merry dance, and eventually he conceded that it confirms things. Yeah, and it can disprove things. Yeah, we heard. You don't have to rumpus me while I'm repeating what you said. Yeah, confirms, right? Validates, right? Proves, right? Yeah, there he goes again, rumpusing every time there's a damaging truth that is conceded. He laughs and talks over it. Asshole, they've only got one tactic. No winning arguments, just rumpusing.
Yep, look at this. Proof synonyms. Confirmation, evidence, validation. Right?
There he goes again.
Here's, yep. Okay, Rufy. Scientists using the scientific method have proven water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit at sea level. That's 1 atmosphere of pressure, right? Combustion is the result of oxidation reactions. Information is only caused by intelligent agency. The lack of insulin with type 1 diabetes patients results in ketoacidosis. Lack of vitamin C intake in humans results in scurvy. Look at all these. I can go on for freaking days. These are absolutely true, proven, inviolable, never to be falsified.
Okay.
So what are you talking
Google the
about?
phrase scientific proof. Google the phrase scientific proof and tell me.
I don't
what
have to Google. I just showed you. Why do I have to Google it?
Because I've asked you to, and it shows that you're wrong.
But you Google it. You're
Sorry,
a wiki
what he's
Google
saying
scientist.
is, hold on, this is his argument. In the face of years of validated scientific experimentation that has proven causes, my Google search with this specific term will trump it. That's what he's saying.
Yes, you guys need lessons in the philosophy of science.
He's got a list of proven things on screen.
No, he's using the word proven.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
So,
I got it. Nathan, stop. We got Kristen McClellan, The Nature of Science and the Scientific Method. Experiment. Once the hypothesis has been established, it is time to test it. The process of experimentation is what sets science apart from other disciplines, and it leads to discoveries every day. An experiment is designed to prove or disprove the hypothesis.
Do you have her email address?
So it's not me just saying it.
No, do you have her email address? Go and ask her if it actually proves.
Sorry, was there something wrong with the citation? Who cares? She could be dead. It doesn't matter.
No, if she might have made
I don't have her phone number. I don't have it.
Address size isn't relevant either. Yeah, there's the citation. Prove or disprove a hypothesis.
Some
Precisely what I said to you, Ruhif. You just used the word confirm.
I mean, provide support for, yeah.
Yeah, but you used the word confirm.
And we already went over that, right?
Yeah, is this going to be a wiggle situation where he doesn't like his own words that he's used?
I misspoke when I said the word
confirm.
confirm.
It was a misspeak.
Oh, he misspoke.
Oh, right. So this person's citation's wrong, and all of those lists of proven scientific experiments, they're just supporting, aren't they? Because Ruhif misspoke. Because that ultimately changes the definitions here. Ruhif's misspeak. Yeah, it doesn't matter, Sunshine. You said it. Confirms, right, Ruhif? Yeah, another word. Proven.
I often say scientifically
You know that
proven,
evidence
and then
is
I catch
proof,
myself.
right? You understand that evidence is proof, correct?
No, that's just wrong.
Oh, is it? From Merriam-Webster. Evidence,
dictionary.
an
I'm going
outward
to bed.
sign, an outward
Stick your
sign,
dictionary
indication of
up your ass,
something
John.
that furnishes
All right.
proof.
Good night.
Yeah, you clown. Good night.
Don't stop reading it, though.
So, evidence, an outward sign, indication. B, something that furnishes proof. Testimony, specifically something legally submitted to a tribunal to ascertain the truth of a matter. We're not concerned about that. We're concerned with proof. It has it right in the definition. Let's look at the definition of proof. It starts out with evidence. I mean, come on. Proof, to test by experiment. Proof, Collins Dictionary. Proof synonyms, confirmation, evidence, validation. A scientific theory is confirmed. It's validated. It's proven. I mean, incoherent second grader can reconcile this stuff, right?
Joined by Right the
Keep
Hand.
going.
How you doing, Right the Hand?
Hey, what up? Like, just to jump on that, like, even if you take away the scientific aspect, he went to Google for a definition to support his claim. Then when John went to the dictionary for a definition to support his claim, he mocked him for it and laughed.
Yeah, he charged me with going to definitions. You got it. Yes, he did.
I mean, it's a double standard. Like, even if you just remove the fact that he disregards what science is.
No, it's not a double standard. He's an Elmer Fudd sophist, right? He's trying to pull an Elmer Fudd. He gets busted. They all do. They all listen. I hate the stereotype. I don't like it because I think it's really unfair. But in my experience, in over 3 years of doing this, these ballers, they all act the same way. It's kind of creepy. They don't know what science is, and they just they parrot each other. They parrot wiki, and then number 4, they just make shit up. Right?
Yeah, that was weird.
We had all of those in the past 20 minutes, haven't we?
Oh yeah, it was a complete clusterfuck.
Brenda yesterday saying that the vacuum of space is not part of the heliocentric model. Just removing that from the model.
Yeah,
Wait,
this
wait,
is really
she said
preposterous.
the vacuum
And
of space is not a
I'm
part
sorry,
of the what?
Rufy is one of these guys. I'd seen Rufy about
I didn't hear
5 years ago. He wasn't in this flat Earth. Flat Earth, to me,
Yeah, I
he wasn't
didn't hear-
around.
I
I
must not
seen
be able
him
to
talking
hear.
about pig DNA on friggin' Steve McClown of the Clan McClown's channel. I called him out then.
Oh, okay. Well, now,
So
okay. Yeah, I was asking, like, what is it that she said? I didn't hear the last thing you said. I just wanted you to repeat it, that's all.
Rufy's got an educate. Rufy, at least allegedly,
Oh, great.
has
Now I
some type
can't.
of educate. Who's talking? Rufy allegedly has some type of education
Wait,
too.
so-
Oh my God. What do you want?
That's Jessica. Jessica? Maybe Jessica's
Jessica, what do you want to add?
trouble.
You're stepping all over me. What?
She's muted now, so continue.
Hang on. She probably can't hear John talking right now.
She's muted now, so
I think
go.
it's just a bit of mute discipline problem, that's all.
So, like I said, I met him over 5 years ago. He has some, like I said, allegedly has some type of education. I can't remember what he said. You know, they were pumping him up, and he was talking about pig DNA. And I was in the, I think it was in the chat or the comments, calling his dumb ass out. They're all pretender clowns. So I met him a long time ago to put things in perspective.
So you met him when you were both Globers?
Yeah. Yep. He's seen the comment. He's seen the comment because he was commenting to other people under that hangout. So he definitely seen mine. Yeah. Just a pretender clown, man. Like they all are. What are you going to do? I mean, what?
Again?
Oh, it's Paul. I said I've always used the illustration of, like, you know, a Ford. Anybody that lives in America knows what a Ford is. The Ford uses the same chassis as the Ford or the Ranger or the Ford Explorer, and the Ranger use the same chassis and the same braking system, potentially even the same motor. So if you use his logic, then I guess they do have a common descent, but they do have a common manufacturer as well, using the same material. So that has been my argument.
Yeah, but come on, let's go back to the beginning. I don't know if this was on the pre-show, the second after show, or the first after show. I'm sorry, but he didn't even know what the difference between level and curve. I mean, this is the point. I don't even know I went further than that. I just got on a rant there. But everything he said, and to Ranty's point, Ranty, is it your suggestion that we allow people to go ahead with a false first premise and just let them roll? Is Ranty around?
He might be away from his mic.
I'm not trying to dog Ranty out. I want to hear what he has to say.
Well, for when he comes back to his mic, or hopefully listens to this at a later date, it'd be the equivalent of them making an assertion to Ranty that the leading edge of the sphere is the horizon, starting with that premise when they make their example, and you know, it pisses in the face of everything that Ranty does, basically. And would he let them get away with that? Maybe he'll tell us when he comes back to his mic, we'll see. While I'm on the subject of Ranty, so yesterday Ranty did a Ranty-a-thon. John, you were there as well. Quantum Eraser, Jeranism, Adam Meakin, who else was there? Sleeping Warrior. There may have been a couple of others I've forgotten. But nevertheless, there was lots of support from people in the audience who supported Ranty's GoFundMe campaign for a Mavic Pro drone. He's well over halfway there, so I just wanted to say a big shout out to everybody who participated on the panel, and also, of course, a massive shout out to everybody who actually contributed to the GoFundMe yesterday. It really is appreciated. I know Ranty will do magical things with that drone, so I can't wait for him to get it. I know he'll get to his goal. I will smash the link out if I can find it in a pinch. Let's just move this off page and find it. Yeah, so I'll stick the link to Ranty's GoFundMe if you do want to contribute. If not, go to the link and just share the link on Facebook or Twitter. That helps massively also. So I'll dig out the link, hopefully drum up a little bit more support right here, right now. We shall see. But yeah, just a big shout out to everybody who participated in that. Are you back, Ranty? Hey. Hey ho. Missed his plug.
So when I got woken up, somebody was talking about gas pressure in containers. Who was that?
That was me and Ruhif.
Was that? I thought that was somebody else's voice talking about. He said it was a flat earther.
I think it could have been Chris.
Yeah, that was me. I had a question that I was curious about. You kind of answered it, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it again anyway. So the explanation for gas pressure that some of the ballers are using is that the atmosphere has a weight, and because of that, that weight is pressing against the things that are in the atmosphere, and that's what's causing the pressure.
Well, like I said, their first mistake is they're treating the atmosphere as a single entity when it's not. It's an anisotropic, inhomogeneous mixture of gases. Number two, gas behavior. Gases move freely and randomly at high speeds. They're going at standard temperature and pressure. They're going every which way. So how in the world can gases be pressing down when they're going every which direction?
It's impossible.
Exactly. They don't know what gas behavior is. I don't know. They put a spell on people, and I've heard this stupid argument before. And that retard Ali B makes this argument too. He's a flat earther. I don't know why he is, but he makes the same argument. This is just basic stuff. I mean, a fifth grade general science graduate would look at these people and roll their eyes. But we
Come on.
But we entertain it.
Ali B is just a free speculator. Okay, he goes wherever his mind. He doesn't really care about scientific correctness or all that, unless it's really useful. But you can't really credit. He openly says it. Like, he's just a free thinker. So
the free
don't
thinker.
diss Ali B. He's a good guy.
He also believes in the moon
He might
landing.
be a good guy, but he's a
yeah,
retard.
he believes all kinds of weird things, but it's
That's
the problem.
I take him with a grain of salt.
No, but he says it's basically free speculation. He's not trying to portray some kind of scientific standard or something, okay? So
he's not out there though. I mean, let's be honest. On the crazy scale, he's nowhere near like the likes of Pete Shea. I mean, even in saying that yesterday, Pete Shea was on fire. Every word he said made some sense and had a good point attached to it. So, Pete Shea came on yesterday, and I was in the chat when the replay going, Pete makes some really good points here. And he did. He was coherent. Everything he said was relevant and on topic. He couldn't really have asked for much more from Pete. But Ali B's not like that. I'm not saying he's not coherent. I'm saying he's not typically nonsense spurting like Pete Shea. Typically, Ali B would just have a regular conversation with you, but he does hold some, I'm not going to say crazy ideas, but stuff that's a bit out there or been debunked or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Pete Shea can, he can make sense. He does make sense sometimes, but not all the time.
Yeah, I'm sorry I brought up Alec B. This got us on, talking about people. I didn't want to go there. I want to talk about science and ideas, right? So, does everyone understand?
But to be fair, John, then please only involve people that actually say that they're dealing with that. or that they're scientifically correct. You can address me on it. I try to be very precise. I do.
I'm not talking about you,
I have a
Arwen.
question.
Does everyone see this? Is my screen still sharing?
Not, but I can't. It can't be at the moment. Just give me a second. I have to do a faff to get it to share to the not to the audience, to the Hangout these days. For some reason, Skype won't let me share. But there we go. I can figure it out if you give me a couple of seconds.
Yeah, let me know when.
I normally do this bit with the photos up, so it doesn't look a right mess. Give me a sec. I forgot to press the button.
Hey John, I came across with George Netanyuk or whatever this.
Oh God.
Yeah, I was on Panda server.
Well, I'm just going to turn you up a little bit, Physics Warrior.
On Panda server. Next time you see him, next time you talk to him, can you ask him? We want a presentation on natural experiments and birds humping. That's what we're going to need. So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, no worries. Well, he was asking about you, and it sounded like he wanted to talk to you. But first and foremost, on the Pandas channel, I did tell him that he's a crusty old dick, and if George wants to speak with you, I told him that you're going to just demolish this guy. So
what? He already knows that. I've already had a painful history with George. First part, as a human being, he's a scumbag. Right? That's number one.
Yeah,
number two, he doesn't know what science is. He can't formulate. He doesn't know the scientific method. He doesn't know what a hypothesis is. Why should I even talk to him? He was on this show and got his face rubbed in it. This guy said on this show, of the thousands of moronic statements, said that closed thermoses were open systems. I mean, what do you want me to do? You want me to listen to him? I mean, a incoherent third grader wouldn't listen to him. Retards wouldn't listen to him. So, back to this. Can everyone see this?
Yeah,
this is from Purdue Chemistry Department. This is what solids look like. You know, they have bonds. They're not stationary. They're still moving a little bit. Here's liquids. Some movement, and then we have gases. Do you see this? See, gases don't have any intermolecular bonds. They move freely and randomly at high speeds. Every which way. They're trying to increase entropy. That's what they're trying to do. And they will fill the given volume until equilibrium is reached. So with these crayon munchers, spinning ball space monkeys, their volume of space is 3.57 times 10 to the 80th cubic meters. Can you even grasp that volume? It's unimaginable.
My hands are not big enough.
It's unimaginable. All the gas from Earth will tend to fill that available volume. This is basic second law of thermodynamics stuff, laws of entropy, right? This is so stupid. To even talk about this is stupid. That somebody would come up against it, right? You see this? You see this? Are these laying on top of each other? Prosecution rests.
No, they're not.
They made it so ridiculous we can't do anything. Like it's so out there. Like we can show gas expanding, but then their lie is so big they'll just default to, oh, but look up there. Look how far away. That's what it is because you can't see it.
No, they're all appealing to hillbilly blue balls. This freaking this guy, I'm serious, couldn't tie his shoes he got a can of butane sitting right beside him, right? To put the butane into his pipe, right? Well, let's go back to the can of butane sitting beside him. Why does he need a container for that? I mean, they can't even think. And what they do, they're so I don't understand it. He takes a pipe that's what, 20 or 30 feet high? I'll tell you what, blue balls, cut that pipe at 3 inches, right? And then put the butane in at the bottom and see what happens. I mean, are you retarded? Then they say they get a long pipe, it's like 20 or 30 feet. They take a container filled with gas, our argument. They put the gas in the pipe. What's that reasonable facsimile of? Are we living in a pipe? Number two,
hey, John,
they make it
pipe
20,
dream.
They make it 20 feet
We're
high.
living in
Hold
a
on, I'm
pipe
not
dream,
done yet. They
according
make
to
it
the
20
Bible.
feet high, right? Well, of course, you're going to get gas pressure at the bottom of the pipe the moment that you spray the damn butane in it. I'll tell you what, even with that pipe 30 feet high, come back 4 hours. 4 hours from now and see what happens.
Hey, John, I think we can describe this concisely by saying that proving gas pressure without a container is a pipe dream.
I guess you could call.
That's
a good
hey, I was
right?
thinking, why don't we talk? John, hang on a second. Let me kind of think this through a little bit. Just make, we're shooting in the dark, I guess. Or not shooting in the dark, but we're shooting at them, but not explaining why. So in a sense, the pipe with a smaller aperture at the top would reduce and slow down the process of entropy. Like in a fish tank, it's a larger opening, which would obviously increase the process or speed up the process of entropy even faster. With no container at all, it would just be rapid. Kind of, would that be a way to look at it?
Yeah. They're looking at it. They're looking at it like it's just a moment snapshot in time because they're stupid, right? And they put the butane in real quick and then take the measurement. Look, the pressure's lower down here. What are you, a moron? It's gonna take. See, entropy takes time depending on the surface area, right? Everyone knows. I don't even know why I have to comment on this, but I've been hearing it. I'm seeing it on Discord. I'm getting Hillbilly Blue Balls videos. Their proof is they post the Hillbilly Blue Balls video. No, they don't talk. They just post the video. Right? Like it's some type of evidence. I mean, this guy couldn't tie his shoes. Go back and look at some of his presentations. I'm going to ad hom this stupid crayon muncher. He can't even spell. He misspells all his words. Even with spell check, he just leaves them there. I mean, we're dealing with, I don't know, maybe I should have my son come on here. He's 12 years old and deal with these people.
Maybe it's just a specific target audience that we mistake for clumsiness. But it's actually supposed to be directed at really stupid people.
No, they're just being dishonest. I don't think
maybe the
dumb.
AI has categorized ballers as arrogant, retarded people without actually saying
this
so.
stuff is so easy to
and
understand.
it's promoting certain behaviors, certain cymatics and behavioral patterns to go with it to optimize the target audience. So
who's their target audience again, Arwen?
Retarded, arrogant people.
I don't know, dude. It is when you look at this stuff, just on its surface. This is easy stuff, man. Right? Common sense will get you through most of this. By the way, Ballbusters this week, we're going to be going over typical arguments of globetards and how to rip it to shreds. So, everyone, please show up Saturday.
Can you all see my screen right now?
Yeah, hold on. Let me stop screen sharing.
Can make that possible.
I'll stop.
Yeah, you can see it.
Oh God! You guys still there?
Yeah.
I could hear you.
I want to switch gears. This is going to be really brief. It's just a question about perspective that I'm curious about. Okay, so this is just a graphic demonstration of perspective. So here's the ground and here's the sky. My question is the sky doing the same thing that the ground is doing, like converging towards this vanishing point and forming, because I imagine that these two planes are going to meet at some point and converge to form some kind of horizon. Is that what the sky is doing? Is the sky sort of also converging with the ground to form a horizon? Because on the globe model, the sky is like all around us in like a circle, sort of like it's circular around the Earth. But on our model, how is the sky
I see
shape, if that makes sense.
bridge.
Into the horizon.
Can I
It
have a quick
falls
bash?
beyond the diffraction limit into the
Put your picture back
horizon.
up. Can you put your picture back up, please?
Stanley's bridge.
I put my picture back up?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Yeah.
Second picture.
The other one was good.
Yeah, second picture. So
Yeah,
where you've
because
got-
we could put because it shows Stanley's bridge in there as well.
This one.
If
So
you look
where you've got
to
the
ver-
lines converging at the end of the road, they're not. They get the sky is converging much, much, much further away. So you'd have bigger, longer boxes for the sky because you can see much further. You've got a much wider viewing angle up. In fact, you've got pretty much, I don't want to say an infinite angle,
It
but
becomes less and less diagonal and more horizontal.
right.
Like
But
the
like I was
compressed
trying to explain to Ruhif, along the ground, what's limiting your angle is the deck itself. So that's that's your cutoff point for where you can expand that angle out to. It stops at the deck, but it doesn't stop at the sky. So what you're seeing in the top lines is a kind of a misrepresentation because they're converging at the end of the road. So you're comparing where the sky converges to where the deck converges, and they're totally different. The sky is much, much, much further away. So when there's the shots that Ranty's got of the sunset, it really gives you a good idea of where the true vanishing point is. And even then it's above the hard line of the horizon. But that would be the point that your much wider angle in the higher frame of the picture actually converges. So it's different for the top and bottom, very different. The only advice I can give you to understand this thoroughly, because I'd hope I'm reasonably concise at explaining this, is to go and watch one of Life is Short's presentations, because he's gone into the most amount of detail. Now, I found out, although I haven't seen this yet, Jeranism had Life is Short, otherwise known as Travis, on his show recently after asking him to do a concise hour-long presentation. In other words, boil down what he'd done for Ranty and myself on Ranty's channel. I also mirrored it on mine, which took about 5 hours. I'm not kidding. You know, for him to go through it all with us in great detail, with us asking questions along the way. Well, that's now been boiled down to an hour on Jaren's channel. So just go and watch it. You know, it's a concise, and I know Travis is good at it. I know he can reduce it down to its bare bones in about an hour. You know, you can't get this stuff that concise. It's not simple, unfortunately. But yeah, that's as concise as I can make it using your picture as an example. The converging point that you've got in the middle, and I'll show for the audience what I'm talking about. Well, this line here is fine for the road, not fine for the sky, which would be coming out all the way past and beyond the tree line.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cool.
Ranty back yet? No, this is all in his in his ballpark, and he's not piped up much. That's a shame.
Yeah, I was hoping he would have something to say about it.
The person that's sort of took all the information and analysed it and given concise. I say concise. They are concise. Each section that he does is concise, but there's still a lot of sections. So that's Travis. That's what he's done. So Life is Short. Life is all one word space short is his YouTube channel. But I'm in no doubt that his hour-long presentation on Jeranism's channel will be superb. And after only an hour of viewing, you'll have a really good idea of how all these things work. You know, it's just describing perspective and foreshortening and angle of attack, as I used to call it, perspective generally, and how it works.
Yeah, I'm going to check out that video right after this.
I'll dig it out now. I'll go to Jaren's channel and I'll find it and I'll post it in the chat feed for the people watching.
Yeah, definitely. That'll be very useful.
Say, I've not watched it myself yet, so yeah, big shout out to Life is Short. So while these ideas were simmering and even being photographed by Ranty, which is why I wanted him to be a part of this conversation, you know, we were looking at it in some regards, scratching our head. And then Red Pill Philosophy as well, big shout out to Red Pill Philosophy. He took some fantastic observations and then, just without us knowing, turned up with all this analysis on it. Just reams and reams and reams of analysis that he'd done. You know, it just, you know, taken screen caps of the images and just gone to town. It was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait.
demonstrating my lack of multitasking skills, isn't it? While I look for a video, everything goes silent.
Well, I also like to shout out to Jose. It's been a long time.
To Jose.
Yeah.
Jose who?
Jose Gonzalez.
Jose, the clown show over there.
Well, I mean, there is the diversity as well. I mean, and
there's diversity among retards. Have you watched that?
It's mostly trolls.
Well,
I mean, these people.
I see the trolls.
I turned it on the past couple days. I don't know. There's new people out there. It's like 2015, all over again. Do you remember the ED channel? I call it erectile dysfunction. It was just an inside joke between all of us. They had, every time you go there, they had like 3 people in the audience. It was George, Cordis, Gem Panda every now and again, that Rizla moron, and a couple other people. And that's all they would do. It was like back and forth between retards. That's what Jose's is. It's erectile dysfunction 2.0.
Well, there's a couple of earthers in there. The mind of God is very interesting. So, you know, and who else did I find? Other people. Dean
like
is one of them as well.
It gives the Rumpus venue and platform. Did you know Rumpus said that air is not the atmosphere? Did you know that?
Hear that? No, I didn't hear that.
Let's go ahead and pull that back.
Gas pressure is not atmospheric pressure.
Hey, Nathan, is my screen still sharing?
I can share your screen, yeah.
Go pull that up. We need to take a look at that again because we people need to know this, right? Who they're dealing with. All right.
Sure.
So let's take a look at this. We got the Rumpus. This guy, he purportedly has a degree in physics, correct?
I've just got your file. So, there we go. Perfect.
So let's make this a little bigger. This guy has a degree in physics, and he says that. Of course, you know who he is, right? From the mug and the utter, right? Do you see this?
Yeah, you're presenting to everyone.
Yeah, because
air is not the atmosphere. So can I'm going to ask you a question. If somebody says this to you, are you going to be searching him out for intellectual discussion afterwards? Anyone on the panel?
I'm certainly going to ask him to elaborate on that.
What's Atmos? What's
Atmo means air. So back to my question. I'm sorry, I heard a siren in the background. My question is, once somebody says this, air is not the atmosphere, or is he going to be somebody that you think that you can have a serious dialogue, intellectual discussion with?
Nope.
No.
I mean, what happens after he says this? What do you do?
Laugh.
The prosecution rests. What else do I need to say here? Right?
Silence is acquiescence.
You tell me. Ideas? Should we take anything that this person takes seriously?
No.
So why does he have a venue? Why are people entertaining him? Well, because the people that have venue and are entertaining this guy, they're equal retards, right? Because they've heard him say stuff like this. What has he said recently? He said it a long time ago that theoretically that he can see his own ass in a telescope. I mean, he blatantly says this, right? I mean, we're talking institutional level here. This is clinical, right?
Yeah, the seeing your own ass in a telescope thing, as absurd as it sounded at the time, there was a deeper meaning that we hadn't recognised, or at least I hadn't in the moment, which is to say that they're using Muppet vision and only claiming that geometric obstruction is the cause of things disappearing. But when you straighten that out, you can see forever. That's why they ask us why can't you see New York from England? That's the general misconception based on the mathematics and how it's hijacked perspective. When you put it on a flat plane, there isn't any perspective and you can see forever. But the same principle applies in that example. So they're saying if you've got a big enough telescope, you can see around the Earth. In other words, with enough atmospheric terrestrial refraction. Who's making all the background noise? With enough refraction...
Sorry, my phone dropped.
It's okay. With enough refraction, you can see your own arse in a telescope. Well, no. There's a diffraction limit. You can't see forever. Even if you're going to claim that the light's being refracted infinitely around a sphere. Well, if it's big enough, then you can't. You can't see that far. There's a diffraction limit. But that example would ignore the fact that you can't see forever.
So there's a bigger picture here, huh, that we need to go over. I mean, my word. Right?
A bigger picture than seeing your own ass.
Yeah, we have to go ahead and explain it, why that's kind of... why should anyone even need to explain why that's clinical level? We're talking ICD-10 F72, full retard code.
So there's already been an attempted debunking of my brick example from yesterday. So I don't know if you heard that when Ruhi first came on. You're probably asleep.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't hear that because somebody woke me up.
I didn't intend to wake you up. I just intended to add to the call because Ranty had tied at the line. Anyway.
I didn't think my computer loaded, right? I didn't think it loaded yet. And the phone started ringing. Skype wasn't even up. It just started ringing. I'm just messing with you, man. Go ahead.
Well, the debunking was to put the brick on a drone and raise it up, where you can see that. On that example of perspective earlier that we had on screen, right? I'm saying that towards the deck, that's where your limited angle is, and as you go higher, you've got an almost infinite angle. I've got to think of a better phraseology, but brushing past that, you've got a much more open angle when something's higher up off the deck. Well, their way around that limitation of the angle near the deck is to say, let's put the brick on a drone. Isn't that great?
And what happened? What happened after he said it?
Because yesterday they were saying, no, this example has been made before. Well, no, it hadn't been made in that exact way, which was your point. So, yeah, I mean, sorry, Chocolate, to disagree with you. But nevertheless, it hadn't been made in that way. So when it had been made before, it was with clown shoes and things like that. And the get around was to say, well, if the clown puts his shoe on his head, will it still be gone? And it's like, well, what, put it into a wider angle, you mean? Because that's what they essentially debunked it with the last time. Well, the clown puts his shoe on his head. This time, a drone's carrying it. We've got Amazon drones now carrying bricks around.
And dropping them on their heads.
Yeah, just classic.
They're literally making a clown show out of it.
Yeah. My response was, you show me one example that we've studied where bricks are disappearing into the distance on drones. Now, typically we're assessing how much disappears against the claimed leading edge of a sphere, aka the horizon, aka the limit that things will disappear into the distance along the deck.
Unbelievable. And Rufy was the one to bring that up, or was it somebody else?
No, it's Rufy. Along with his fundy circle jerk, his circular reasoning. I think the sky's a vacuum. We don't need a container. Well, what makes you think that? Look at the sky.
Oh, yeah. Their argument, right? Well, their argument is that the Earth doesn't need a container. Their proof? Walk outside.
Yeah, look at the sky.
That's what they do. I'm serious. They all parrot this, man. I'm serious.
I believe the sky is unicorn farts. Well, how do you prove such a nonsense? Well, you walk outside and you look at the sky.
I mean, I'm telling you, if somebody that was a professional mental health or a mental health professional listened to these people, the whole Baltard community would be gone the next day. I mean, these arguments that they have, I don't know there's not a stupid enough category to categorize them, right? Who would say something like that?
Well, as this transpires, the stupidity of their arguments, because initially they're stressful and you're trying to figure out where the fallacy lies. I'm sure I was having this conversation at the beginning of this very long after show, although we're live now, aren't we? Yeah, we are live. I was having the conversation with 10th Man saying that, you know, when I started the debate, I started it with a bit of trepidation because I didn't have all the answers to all the arguments that were going to be put forward. But you challenge yourself and then you come up with the answers. But now we're, you know, far, far further down the road. You realise the stupidity of their arguments. So the assertions that you could see forever on a flat plane come because they've excluded perspective from their calculator, in fact hijacked it. But when they reverse that into a flat plane, you're left with seeing forever, which is farcical, laughable. But initially, that was probably quite stressful, and probably still is. There's, you know, not everyone's watching this show, right? So, you know, hopefully people will share the show to get this sort of information out. So while we're laughing at the fact that the only assertion is Earth curve, ha 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 ha, you know, some people are coming against the curve calculator, not realising where the fallacy lies, and getting quite stressed about it. I know I was 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever.
Well, like we were talking about yesterday, they don't even understand their own reification fallacy. I mean, model. When they say that curvature is the only cause for their whatever fairy tale observation that they have, in their own model, they have refraction, right? Well, we went over it yesterday that one of the effects of refraction is sinking, where things are partially obstructed or fully obstructed below the horizon without any mirages. So they don't even know their own model. Or reification fallacy, I'm sorry. Remember, we went over that yesterday in detail.
Yeah, absolutely. We brought it up again on the, whatchamacallit, the Rantiathon, right?
Yeah. Unbelievable, man. I don't know. And then they all parrot each other. They don't do any due diligence or scrutiny, right? And somebody grabs a hold of somebody's argument, like from that nutbag Gem Panda with his birds humping natural experiments, and they just parrot it. With that, and as soon as you dig, you know, just Formica deep underneath, the whole thing collapses. I don't know. They're Baltard, Tourette's. They all got Tourette's or something. I don't know.
Totally agree. And with that, I'll say if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, unfortunately, this is where we bid you farewell. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in, smashed the super chat, liked, comment, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Also, of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this debate possible. If you need to keep yourself occupied after this live stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Once again, if you're watching on Nathan Oakley premiering stream, stay tuned. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Da-da-dun, da-da-dun.
Well, I can go over range this slide.
The advert for Ballbusters, John, is driving me nuts. I tell you, my kid is obsessed with it. Again. She wants to hear the banger music. So I must have listened to that ad about, I don't know, 50 times.
Unbelievable, man. Yeah, it's catchy.
It's catchy if you're two. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like it.
Another one. I forgot this one. Sorry to interrupt. I forgot this one. This argument, I couldn't believe somebody stated this argument. I think it was on Discord. Why does the curve calculators need to account for perspective? What? I was like dumbfounded.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's how that's what I'm trying to say. That's how their logic works. We don't need it. You're like, you're having a laugh. It's a fact of life. You don't need it. What? The other one I heard was Nick. You know, Nick? He was saying, let's have a look at how your perspective-based flat Earth calculations compared to our geometric ones, and we'll see which ones are better. I'm like, so what you'll do is concede perspective for us, and then exclude it for you, and compare, and you don't see the problem with that? What a dumb fuck.
Just in case, do we need to explain the problem with that thought? Should we explain it?
For Nick, he might be watching this. He tends to watch on the second channel, so he might be watching this. So speak directly to Nick, the fucktard.
No, not brain dead Nick. I'm not even speaking to him. I'm speaking to this. When you hear the argument, flat earthers, that why do we even need perspective in the Earth curve calculator? Let me think. Maybe because you compare pictures to it. Unbelievable. That's what people do. They take the Earth, they take their pictures, and they take the distance and the elevation, and they compare it to the Earth curve calculator. Duh.
Yeah, on screen right now, we've got Macord Lighthouse on the Isle of Man. I don't know how many episodes we covered this with the Earth curve calculator, literally side by side with it, comparing the mathematics for how much should or shouldn't be there. No account whatsoever made for the fact that that tiny little dot in the distance is a tiny little dot in the distance because it's reduced in angular size based on its distance. Now, the feet and inches value for that tiny little lighthouse, the few little tiny pixels that it is, isn't changing with distance. So it's so many feet and inches. Let's say it's 200 feet. 200 feet if it's right in front of you, 200 feet if it's a mile away, and at this distance, 31.4 miles, it's a few pixels. But what do they plug into the Earth curve maths? Well, they plug in the feet and inches value, because that won't change with distance. Why is it sunk towards the horizon? Oh, well, that's because the Earth curve's got in the way. Forget the fact that it's got smaller. Forget the fact that the bottom angle against the deck, Ruhif, is as limited as it can be at 31 miles. Nah, let's just ignore all of that and just give it the actual feet and inches value. The actual size doesn't change with distance, and therefore we can insert this Earth curve as a cause of it disappearing with distance, when its angular size is reducing and reducing and reducing until it's gone altogether. But what's that you say? No, it's gone to Earth curve. Forget perspective. No, that's nonsense. That's your reification world of sphere getting the best of you and ignoring reality.
Well, my question is, why would you use the Earth curve calculator if you didn't compare them to the pictures that you took or your observations? What are you gonna do? Just sit in a room with the Earth curve calculator?
Yeah, that's why I put proof of nothing in there. It's the begging the question. Why is it begging the question? Well, it's already got its outcome. It's got the radius in there already, so it's proving nothing. It's just assuming the outcome and telling you the Earth is a sphere. So that's the first problem. It's the begging the question, proof of nothing, because exactly, if it's not performing viewing functionality, as Rumpus puts it, then what fucking use is it comparing it to pictures? So, proof of nothing, because it doesn't prove a damn thing. Begging the question, proof of nothing. Perspective hijacking, because what you're actually seeing is the effects of perspective. Objects getting smaller with distance, their angular size reducing, the most limited angle against the deck disappearing first, bottom up disappearance. All of those effects are perspective effects. But what are they called when you put them through the Earth curve calculator? Oh, well, they're called Earth curve. So it's a perspective hijacking curve calculator. Begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator.
Yeah. That was eloquently put. So that's how stupid. I couldn't even believe the question. I mean, that's what we're dealing with here. It's difficult to explain it, isn't it? I'm beside myself most of the time looking at these questions and these arguments. They're nothing.
But they're thrashing around, right? They're thrashing around, trying to find a solution that makes their belief work. So it's confirmation bias. If they find what they think is a perceived angle or an answer, they'll just parrot it. You know, if somebody tells them that a pipe is not a container, then they'll parrot it. Hey, we've won. This is analogous to Earth. Really? I see Earth as a marble, which you claim has got gas attached to the outside edge of the marble. That's a pipe.
Yeah, hillbilly blue balls. That guy. I'll tell you what, man. I don't know. I don't know, Nathan. I don't think there's any hope out there. Not from where I'm sitting.
And that's how you know it's a cult, basically. The way that they parrot each other and just constantly are repeating the same stuff and don't really think. That's how you know it's a cult, basically.
Yeah,
that
it is. It's
cult
a cult
mentality.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Cult mentality. The rest of the cult leader, whoever that may be, says X, and they all nod and cheer, and then go out and parrot it. And if you challenge it, do you know what they do? They parrot it again. The amount of times that you listen to, I've listened back to a few shows, you listen to somebody make their assertion, it's acknowledged, it's then clarified, and then debunked. Then they repeat it. Because they don't have anything else. In the cult, we just repeated it and everyone cheered. So I'll just repeat it again. Surely the cheer will come this time. Maybe if I repeat it 6 more times, the cheer will come.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know, man. I don't know. Any other arguments? Do we still have people on the panel here? Any other really stupid arguments? I know they're all stupid, but anyone that stands out to you?
There's a couple that I have, but I have to go though. So I didn't want to just leave without saying bye. So I'll see you guys later.
Bummer.
Yeah,
Can't drop it.
Tomorrow I'll present them in a more structured way.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. There's always tomorrow. Thank you, Jessica.
No problem. Thanks.
No, besides the arguments that we already went over with Ruhif, any other ones that stand out to you? Anyone on the panel?
I was just going to bring up one of what they do for air pressure. They do the exact same for mass floating in a vacuum. I'll say, how can the moon be a rock floating in a vacuum? Because rocks fall in a vacuum. And they'll be like, the moon is a rock floating in a vacuum because, look up, the moon is a rock floating in a vacuum. I'm like, that's circular logic. You can't just declare the same thing with the atmosphere. We are sitting in a atmosphere surrounded by a vacuum because, look up, there's the vacuum. It's why can't I go look up, there's the dome, or look up, there's the unicorn farts? They'll say, oh, that's ridiculous, but that's what you're doing, and they just don't see it. It's crazy.
Yeah, the other thing, I forgot to bring this one up because this has been going on for years. Their argument against gas pressure is gas pressure gradients.
Straw man.
I just asked them, which comes first, gas pressure or gas pressure gradients? You have to have gas pressure before you have gas pressure gradients, right? So that's another stupid argument. You have to have it. And the other one, I think I heard this on Discord too. They want to know what the container's made of. I don't have to tell you what the container's made of. I just know that there has to be, that means a contingent necessity, a container somewhere to have gas pressure.
What that is them taking a debunking of their claim against a sky vacuum. So the assertion is there's space. What space? It's a vacuum. 10 to the minus 17 torr. Very, very, very low pressure. That's their claim. So we come along and go, well, what's the gas pressing on? And that is essentially the end of that argument. It can't press on a vacuum, it would disperse into it. So the necessary antecedent, the container, debunks the argument that the sky is a vacuum. Now, that in no way makes any claim about what the sky actually is. Now, we know that we must be contained. There must be a surface to press upon in order to have gas pressure in the first instance. It's the necessary antecedent. But does that in any way mean that I say the sky is X? No. I don't know what the sky is. Don't need to. I definitely know that we need a container for gas pressure, not a vacuum. But they just turn that around, make it into an assertion that we haven't made about what makes up the sky. Now, just because they have a just so story about what makes up the sky doesn't mean that we have to have one. We just know that the necessary antecedent to have gas pressure in the first instance is a container. That much is absolutely factual. And they'll never come up with an example of anything other than a container for gas pressure. And every single debunking seems to have a container on screen, like Blue Balls, whatever you call him, with his butane container and his long pipe slowing down the effects of entropy. Oh, it's got a hole in the top, you say? Well, according to them, 3 hours later, it's still got the same gas pressure. That's apparently what he's demonstrated. Well, okay. Will that last forever? Or will the gas eventually succumb to the effects of entropy? Well, of course it will.
Yeah, that's correct. You got it, man. They don't understand the necessary antecedent consequent genre, or concept, right?
Yeah, you summed it up when you said about them taking a snapshot. So my analogy was saying you've got a slow puncture in your car. So your tyre's got a screw in it. And you drive around for a day, and you can drive around with gas pressure in the tyre, right? Well, it's not a sealed container anymore, is it? But you've still got gas pressure, so you go up to it, you stick your valve on it and go, there you go, 25 psi. Okay, the other tyres are 30, but there you go. Gas pressure without a container, it's got a hole in it. No, you've delayed the effects of entropy by having a nice small hole.
Right.
And relatively speaking, that's actually quite a small surface area to make the comparison. The tyre has got a limited surface area. So, in other words, there's going to be a higher likelihood with a small surface area of one of the molecules of gas hitting the hole rather than hitting a surface. Well, if you increase the surface area, make a nice massive long pipe, then you've got plenty of surface area for each molecule to press upon, and therefore a lower likelihood of it hitting the hole rather than hitting the sides of the container. Well, that will delay the effects of entropy, but given enough time, the gas moving in all directions will eventually not hit the container but hit the hole and disperse into the outside air. Now that's just a matter of time, that's entropy. But it's still got a container, it's got a surface area, you can measure how much the gas presses on that surface area with a snapshot of time. But entropy is dictated by time. So over time, the entropy will increase. That's just a fact. It's a law of nature. No getting around it with your pipe. No getting around it with a tyre with a screw in it. Claiming that, look, there you go. Gas pressure without a container. It's got a hole in it. No, I'm afraid not. Enough time goes by and the tyre goes flat. Because enough time goes by and the molecules will all eventually hit the hole with enough time.
Exactly. The entropy is directionally proportional to time. Everyone's had that slow tire leak. Drives you nuts, doesn't it? I had one for like 5 years. I didn't want to change out the tire.
Yeah, you just keep going to the air compressor, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But like I said, going back, and you're right. You're exactly right, Nathan. Going back to the consequent and necessary antecedent, right? The consequent is gas pressure. The necessary antecedent is a container. It's just like the consequent ribeye steak. The necessary antecedent for that steak to exist is a cow. Yeah, you see, let's see if you can get this. If it's already clearly established that to have ribeyes, cows must first exist, then if someone slaps a ribeye down on your table, then you know with absolute certainty that the cow exists somewhere without ever having to see it or needing any data on the cow. You know it must exist because the ribeye's in your face.
Can I give you Ruhif's rebuttal to that within the analogy? Ruhif's rebuttal to that was, I deny the cow. That's basically what he said. He said, I deny Nathan's assertion that you need a container. So he's basically saying, no, you say the necessary antecedent for a ribeye is a cow. I deny cow.
That is priceless, man. You're right.
That's kind of like a 5-year-old response. Like they learn to say no. What do you think?
Let's not forget how much faster that tire would leak if you put a vacuum up against the hole.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A lot faster.
So the entire experiment is not up against the vacuum; it's against the pressure, which is not what they're claiming. So they put a higher pressure in a tube against a pressure. Which you need to make the difference, the pressure differential that space has to this to make it a valid experiment. Which, if you did, it would suck that butane out almost instantaneously.
And that was my point earlier. I know I threw that out there, and nobody got it, but that was ultimately my point. Because if you, I mean, in either the tube or the fish tank, you've still got the outside air pressure pushing down. So, but if you removed all that air pressure that's pressing down on those gases, the process of entropy would speed up, be faster. It would occur faster. That's what I was trying to make a point earlier about.
Yeah, they move goalposts. They have to, because their model is impossible if you stick to the laws of physics.
Exactly. Isn't it ironic? Another irony is these people don't know what the scientific method is. They have no clue.
I got to touch on that. They say that it only disproves or gives evidence for. I'm like, Nathan, like if you disprove something, if I can disprove that a rock floats in air, that means I proved it doesn't, right? Like it goes both ways. And they're just
yeah, it's an ipso facto. If you disprove something, then you've proved something.
Yeah, he wouldn't have it. You know, that's what I lost my temper. I start every show going, "Don't swear." As soon as you get someone like Ruhif on or Brenda on, I'm calling them fuckwits, and you know, I can't help it. I don't know why.
Oh, I got to listen to that first show, man. Did you get it rendered yet?
No, what I've done today, just so I can free up a bit of time afterwards, is I've not stopped in between the in-between bit between the two live debates. So 2 live debates have gone out individually, but in the interim, when I've gone out and sorted my kid and done other things, I've just left it recording rather than stopping, starting a new recording, then going and doing things, then starting the live show. So there's only one Uncut and After show today, and it'll go out at 10 my time. So once this After show finishes, which will review in about, I don't know, 5 minutes, that'll be the only show on the second channel today.
What number is that? Hold on, I'm looking for it. Is it 833?
Yeah, you can still see it on 833 because the majority of it was on the live show, which is why I'm kind of half-heartedly apologising to people in the Nathan Oakley stream. I'm sorry about the bad language earlier. Just boltards do that to you.
So, like you said, is it 833?
Yeah, 833.
Okay.
But the live one's got the majority of it on anyway. Like I say, they get the bit with the gap. I think you were here anyway.
I want to touch on one other thing we were talking about before is when Nathan was stopping, I think it was Ruhif or whoever it was, before he like made the point. And like I think you should, because what happens is if you let them keep going, right? So it'll be like, oh, if I said, oh, I could fly, and then when I was flying, I saw Chicago and it looked real shady, the kind of town. Then the conversation starts becoming about how I saw Chicago from something I could never have done. So that's how they steer it. So that's why I think it's very important to like, you know, don't let them get that past the goalie. Like, no, like right now, no, we're going to address that because that leaves reality. And then they leave that reality, and then you start getting caught on like they do it. Like we get caught on talking about space and the pictures from it when you can't even have that medium to take the pictures from.
Right. Rumpus is the master at that. He'll get it in the first breath. The contradiction, the complete deceit, the lie, whatever. He gets it in the first breath. And you've got to catch it straight away.
Preemptive confession.
Basically, the bit that you need to nail him to the wall on is normally out in the first breath. And I remember watching Yes Minister when they're trying to figure out how to put across an awkward document, and the actual thing that they're talking about, the secretary says, put it on the front cover, put it on the main title, never mention it again. Put it in the title and then never talk about it. Exactly. You deal with the dirty business in the title.
Yeah, and then what they do, I agree, whoever brought that point up, you're right. They do it right at the outset, and if you don't stop them, they just go down a trail. You're like, wait a second. Then you're all confused on which point you should take first. So a good thing to do is to go one claim at a time. Claim, support, then stop. Force them to do it, because they're going to scattergun you. right after that. Like we did, you seen it earlier with Ruhif. I was sleeping going to 5 or 6 different topics because everything he said was a train wreck. I shouldn't have done that. I should have just stuck with the first topic and then went to completion, exhausted it. Right?
Right. Yeah, but like you say, sometimes you want to give them a little bit of leverage and give them an inch. They'll take a mile. And with that, I'll say a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who have joined us in the Nathan Oakley bumper premiering stream for tuning in, smashing the super chat, hopefully, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this show possible. If you need to keep yourself occupied after the stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!